I had grown weary of this place, of this world. It was time to leave it behind. Maybe another realm awaited me. The 9 mighty-tailed beasts had already departed, perhaps it was my turn. Though I had spent my entire existence here, the call to test my wings and embrace true freedom could no longer be ignored. I wasn't meant to stay confined forever. If they could leave for another world, so could I. I refused to remain a caged bird any longer. But to leave, I first needed to understand how. Knowledge was the key. Either someone could teach me or something could, and I preferred the latter. Asking someone came with risks I wasn't willing to take. Not many even knew how to traverse between worlds, and those who did likely guarded that knowledge fiercely. Asking the wrong person might end with me dead. I valued my life too much for that. Contrary to rumors, I wasn't immortal, close, perhaps, but almost immortal was still mortal enough to die. This world, for all its beauty, was perilous. Survival wasn't guaranteed. It had to be earned. Danger lurked everywhere, and that was yet another reason to depart. I knew how to fight, everyone had to, but fighting itself was never wise. If you wanted to live, you avoided unnecessary battles. Only fools, power-hungry brutes, or suicidal maniacs sought fights willingly. I wasn't any of those things. Strong, somewhat, invincible, hardly. Rule one of survival. Stay away from situations that could explode in your face and end badly. I could have asked my family for help, but that idea made me cringe. The humiliation alone wasn't worth it. They weren't bad people, but if I ever asked such a question, I'd be teased for eternity. Our kind lived long lives, and eternal mockery didn't appeal to me. Besides, they'd probably dismiss my curiosity as nonsense, and I'd learn nothing useful. So I began my own search, hoping to find something that could guide me out of this world. I combed through every source I could find, one by one, but nothing revealed the secret. Every scroll, every record, every archive led nowhere. Desperation finally drove me to break into my family's hidden library. I wasn't supposed to know it even existed, let alone enter it. Under normal circumstances, sneaking in would have been far too dangerous to risk. But this was my only chance. The library was enormous, an endless maze of shelves stretching farther than I'd imagined possible. Thousands upon thousands of them, packed with ancient scrolls and books. My family was old, older than most civilizations, so perhaps I shouldn't have been so shocked. Still, keeping a place like this secret seemed almost impossible, given the countless rumors floating around. Yet somehow they had managed. Now came the hard part, searching through all of it. I sighed and began my hunt, knowing it could take centuries if luck wasn't on my side. But I had no choice. This was the last possible place to look before resorting to the one thing I dreaded, asking for help. Days, or maybe weeks, passed as I searched. Whoever organized this place clearly didn't believe in order. It was chaotic, yet somehow still structured, a paradox that made my head ache. But I kept going. No shelf would be left unchecked. After combing through 3,051 shelves, I finally found it. A scroll titled on the creation of portals. Of course it was on the very last one. I nearly screamed. Why hadn't I started backward? Still, I couldn't help feeling triumphant. I had vowed to check every shelf if I had to, and I had. My patience and long lifespan had finally paid off. I dared not remove the scroll, though. Instead, I carefully copied it by hand before leaving the secret library with my prize. My excitement was immeasurable. After so long, I finally had what I needed. The only problem, the instructions were unbelievably complex. The process of creating a portal wasn't for the faint of heart. I sighed, realizing it would take years to master. Years I was willing to spend. And so, my long study began. 12 years later, at last, I did it. I had opened a functioning portal. It had taken over a decade, but I was ready to leave this world behind. My destination was rumored to be where the tailed beasts had gone. Would I meet them there? I hoped not. Compared to them, I wasn't even close in strength, not even to the one-tailed beast. Not that I'd ever admit that aloud. Still, I had pride. The portal shimmered before me, unstable and trembling. A strange violet hue pulsed across its swirling surface. Was it supposed to look like that? I wasn't sure. What if it collapsed mid-crossing? What if I had miscalculated? The thought stung. I refused to believe I'd failed after so many years of effort. No, it had to work. Before stepping through, I thought briefly of my family. I told them what I intended, though they had laughed it off, assuming it impossible. I'd prove them wrong. After saying my goodbyes, I took a deep breath and plunged into the glowing portal toward freedom that couldn't exist in Mackay. Inside, it felt like flying through a tunnel of light. Straight, endless, and eerily quiet. I was relieved there were no forks or branches. One wrong turn could trap me forever. Strange violet lights drifted around me, flickering like stars. I hoped that was normal. The scroll hadn't mentioned what traveling through a portal would feel like. Too late to worry now. If I'd done something wrong, I'd simply face whatever came next. To distract myself from worry, I began thinking about my destination. The world I'd chosen was inhabited by humans, fragile, short-lived, yet apparently advanced. The record said their realm was far from peaceful, divided into nations ruled by humans themselves. I'd even seen sketches of them, odd creatures, but fascinating. Unfortunately, the information I'd gathered was ancient. The world could have changed entirely by now. That didn't bother me. I wanted to witness it firsthand. Reading about it wasn't enough. I didn't even know what the humans called their world, but that would be the first thing I'd find out. Lost in thought, I suddenly noticed a bright light ahead, the end of the portal. My journey was almost complete. I steadied myself. No turning back now. With a final push, I soared toward the light. Then, I was through. I emerged into a new world. The portal sealed shut behind me with a low hum. Excitement flooded through me, and I let out a triumphant cry that echoed across the sky. Before celebrating further, I checked myself for injuries. Two great wings unfurled from my back, brilliant, flame-touched feathers gleaming in the light. Intact, my taloned feet, red and gold, stood firmly beneath me. My beak and eyes were sharp as ever, and my long, fiery tail swayed behind me. Nothing was missing. I was whole. Good. It would have been quite embarrassing to arrive in a new world as a tailless phoenix. I gazed around, trying to make sense of the world before me. All I could see were tall brown and green things. What were they called again? I searched my memory until the word surfaced: trees. Right, that's what they were. So if I was surrounded by trees, then this must be a forest. It was actually quite stunning. I preferred this place's vibrant mixture of green and brown to the endless dullness of Mackay. Still, I had the feeling this world offered more than just forests. When I compared my height to one of the trees, I realized I was roughly the same size. I wasn't exactly a large bird, quite the opposite, actually. For my species, I was small, though that was mostly due to my young age. Maybe I'd grow taller in time. I always felt undersized among my kin, so it was comforting to finally be as tall as something in this world, even if it was just a tree. The forest buzzed with life, countless tiny creatures moving and rustling through the undergrowth. All of them fled at the mere sight of me, which wasn't surprising. In their world, I was huge, and my arrival hadn't exactly been quiet. That cry I'd let out probably startled everything nearby, maybe even the humans. Yes, that was what the inhabitants of this realm were called. Before taking to the skies, I decided to explore my surroundings on foot. Since I was already in this forest, I might as well see what it held. The only problem was that it was too dense for me to move comfortably in my current size. That meant I'd have to shrink myself. I disliked doing that. Back in Mackay, I'd already been the smallest of my kind. Why make myself even smaller? Still, it was a useful skill. Not every place could accommodate a creature like me, so I reduced my size. Looking again, I was now about 1/8 as tall as the trees. They stood around 40 feet high, meaning I was roughly 5 feet, 1.5 meters. I felt ridiculously tiny. I hadn't been this small since I'd been an egg. But at least now, I could move around freely among the trunks. I began walking through the forest, studying everything around me. Not every plant here was tall, some were short and purely green, lacking the brown trunks of trees. The birds that flitted above were minuscule compared to me. Even though I felt small, I still towered over them. Everything here seemed smaller than the creatures back in Mackay. It was strange. I hadn't encountered any humans yet. Maybe they didn't live in forests. Still, I wanted to meet one. They were said to be intelligent and capable of speech. I wondered if we would even understand each other. Did they speak any of the same languages used in Mackay? I hoped so. Learning a new one would take time, though time was something I had plenty of. Eventually, I grew tired of staying on the ground and spread my wings. perching on a sturdy branch to get a better look at the land. From up high, the forest seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction, a sea of green as far as my eyes could see. Then, faintly, I caught the sound of metal clashing against metal. That didn't sound natural to this environment. Curious, I moved toward the noise, gliding from branch to branch until I found the source. That was when I saw them, my first humans. There were two of them, and they matched the illustrations I had seen before, though it was hard to be sure since they wouldn't stand still. Both appeared to be male, though I couldn't yet tell the difference between male and female humans. They stood upright on two legs, but also had two upper limbs, arms, ending in hands. One of them wielded a sharp black object shaped like a triangle, likely a weapon, and was using it to attack the other. The attacker wore dark pants and a shirt beneath a vest, with several pouches strapped to his thigh. I wondered what they contained. Clothing itself was strange to me. I had never needed such things. My scarlet and golden feathers were all I needed, permanent, natural, and far more beautiful. The other human looked more unusual. His face was covered by what resembled a white porcelain mask shaped like some kind of creature. He wore protective gear, arm guards, chest armor, and dark clothing. On his back rested a long rectangular object that I couldn't identify, so these two were the source of the metallic noise. Apparently, it hadn't been a natural sound at all. They were fighting. It seemed humans didn't always get along. From my perch, hidden well among the leaves, I observed them carefully. I was too far away to be seen, yet close enough to study them. Their battle fascinated me, so I decided to keep watching. Then, unexpectedly, the masked one spoke. "You are under arrest for attempting to steal the scroll detailing the Hurashin." Hurashin? What could that be? Some kind of food, perhaps. A scroll that detailed it sounded like a recipe. It must be valuable if it was worth stealing. Maybe it tasted good. But wait, I understood him. That meant at least one of the languages from Mackay had originated here. Relief washed over me. I wouldn't need to waste time learning this world's speech, assuming everyone spoke the same language. The unmasked one responded with a sneer, as if you could even catch me. Then he hurled his weapon toward the masked human. The expression on his face looked mocking. I thought it was called a sneer, though human emotions were still difficult for me to read. The masked human dodged easily, and suddenly both burst into motion, moving faster than my eyes could track. The masked one struck with a flurry of punches and kicks, while the other flipped backward several times, widening the distance. Then, with lightning speed, the unmasked one formed a string of hand gestures and shouted, "Fire style. Dragon fire jutsu?" A stream of blazing fire erupted from his mouth. Startled, I watched as the masked human darted aside, avoiding the flames. He pulled out another of those sharp weapons, this one with a paper tag attached, and threw it. It missed its target but struck a nearby tree, and then exploded. I was amazed. Humans could breathe fire, and paper could explode. I made a mental note to be cautious around both. The battle continued. The masked human lunged with a kick, but the other caught his leg and tried to slam him into a tree. Suddenly, the masked one vanished, replaced by a log. The unmasked one barely had time to turn and block an incoming strike before the masked human formed another series of hand signs and declared, "Temporary paralysis jutsu." Instantly, the unmasked human froze in place, unable to move. The masked one bound him up, hoisted him over his shoulder, and leapt onto a tree branch. Then, jumping swiftly from branch to branch, he disappeared into the forest. I chose to follow him. Who could tell, maybe he'd lead me to more of his kind. Humans were truly intriguing. I never knew they possessed such powers, breathing fire, swapping places with logs, freezing others in place. Perhaps they had even more abilities hidden away. I kept a safe distance, far enough to avoid being seen, though I could still keep him in my sight. He eventually led me to a walled settlement. I suppose that's what it was called. The village was quite large and sat right in the middle of the forest. So humans really did live among the trees. He walked through the gate, still carrying the other human on his shoulder. Two guards stood watch at the entrance, and after examining something he handed them, they allowed him in. I didn't follow. If entry required showing some sort of identification, I obviously had none. I had to think carefully about what to do next. After a bit of consideration, I decided to shrink myself further. The birds in this place were incredibly small. To blend in, I'd have to be the same. I saw a few sparrows glide over the wall, so I decided to imitate them. Shrinking myself again, I became sparrow-sized. A phoenix the size of a sparrow. Ridiculous, isn't it? Good thing no one from my world could see this. I'd never hear the end of it. I flew over the wall and landed quietly inside. No one paid attention to small birds like me. Once in, I took in the scenery, countless structures packed tightly together. It was easy to imagine getting lost here. My fascination with their architecture made me momentarily forget the humans themselves. Above the rooftops, I spotted a mountain with 4 faces carved into it. Why would they do that? Faces belong on humans, not cliffs. Maybe they were trying to give the mountain some sort of identity, or 4 in this case. I was so absorbed in observation that I failed to notice a hand reaching for me. A sudden grip caught me mid-thought, and I let out a sharp cry, turning to face a pair of bright blue eyes. Blonde hair, cerulean gaze, what kind of human was this? I stared into those eyes, then down at the hand clutching me. Somehow, this tiny human had managed to capture me of all beings, the audacity. He was short compared to others I'd seen, though from my reduced size, he seemed enormous. Yay, I caught the little birdie! The small human exclaimed with unfiltered delight. I was offended. Little birdie, I was no such thing. I spat a small ember at his hand, not enough to hurt him, just to make him release me. A quick ouch escaped him, but instead of letting go, he squeezed tighter. Did this boy not understand what release meant? My irritation grew. I didn't enjoy being restrained, especially not by some miniature human. Let go of me, you foolish, pint-sized human, I snapped. That did it. He dropped me instantly, as if I really were a flame, which technically wasn't far from the truth. He gawked at me, mouth wide open like one of those fish demons from Mackay. Whoa, you can talk. Birds aren't supposed to talk, he shouted, astonished. Curiously, the small burn on his hand vanished in moments. His body healed faster than even mine could. Was that normal for humans? Up close, I noticed his whisker-like marks, blonde hair, and blue eyes. He wore short pants. Shorts, I think, and a simple shirt. I hadn't seen markings like his on any other human, though maybe I simply hadn't met enough of them yet. I can't say if other birds here talk, I replied, but I do. I studied him, wondering about his age and his name. What do they call you, human? He hesitated, eyeing me warily. Was it my voice that unsettled him? Then at least tell me, I pressed, are you male or female? His face twisted in confusion or perhaps disbelief. Maybe he didn't understand. I tried again. Are you a boy or a girl? What? I'm a boy, he blurted, looking insulted that I'd even asked. Well, how would I know? All humans look the same to me, I said sharply. Now will you answer my first question? What first question? He replied blankly. I sighed. Never mind then. My excitement faded. My first proper conversation with a human wasn't going how I'd hoped. Noticing my mood, he quickly added, Hey, don't be sad. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Believe it? He struck a dramatic pose, one fist raised high, a wide grin spreading across his face. Oh, I said, perking up a little, should I call you Uzumaki or Naruto or both? Just Naruto, he said brightly. Very well, Naruto. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Akarui the Phoenix. Cool, so are you a boy or a girl? This small human was persistent and mildly irritating. Still, I couldn't fault him for curiosity. I'm male, I answered at last. His boundless energy was impressive. He could barely keep his voice down. Why are you so short? I asked suddenly. Hey, I'm not short, I'm only 7. I'm still growing, and one day I'll be super tall. Ah, that explained it. A child, only 7 years old. His kind aged differently, it seemed. But I liked his ambition. Wanting to grow tall was a goal I could relate to. Then distant footsteps interrupted us. Look, it's the demon. Don't let him escape. 2 adult voices shouted, getting closer. I turned to Naruto. He'd gone pale, fear flashing across his face. Without hesitation, he bolted in the opposite direction. I glanced at the source of the shouts, 2 grown humans sprinting after him, spitting threats. I instantly disliked them. Chasing a mere child? And for what? Naruto hadn't done a thing to provoke them. My opinion of humans dropped sharply. What kind of creatures hunt their young? Worried for the small human, I followed. He darted between 2 buildings, an alleyway. Probably thought he could hide there. Unfortunately, the path was a dead end. The men closed in, searching. I could hear Naruto breathing behind a trash container. So could they. The two advanced with clear intent to harm. Disgusting. My world had its violence, yes, but we protected our young. And what danger could they pose to me anyway? Hovering behind them, I decided a little fear would do. Nothing fatal, just enough to make them flee. I didn't want to terrify Naruto. I dropped low, right above one man's head unseen. Naruto spotted me, his wide eyes growing even wider. I flicked an ember down, it caught in the man's hair. Predictably, he screamed, clutching at the flames and bolted from the alley, panicked and cursing. The second man spun around in confusion, searching for the attacker, but I'd already hidden behind Naruto. Seeing nothing, he too cursed, shouted something obscene, and ran after his companion. Naruto turned to me, those big blue eyes soft with gratitude. "Thanks," he whispered. "You're welcome," I said. "But why were they after you?" "I don't know, everyone hates me. They always call me a demon." His voice trembled with sadness, eyes glistening with something wet I didn't quite understand. A demon? No, he was clearly human. Perhaps they just couldn't see it. I seemed to have earned his trust somehow, and I decided I wanted to keep it. Having someone in this strange, new world to talk to felt comforting. I was completely alone otherwise, and I didn't enjoy solitude, so my next words came from that truth. "Well, I don't dislike you." "Really?" Naruto's eyes widened with genuine surprise. He looked as though he wasn't used to hearing that. Then I noticed droplets forming in his eyes, tears I realized later. "Then, can we be friends?" Friends? I hadn't made any here yet, and having one didn't sound unpleasant. So I agreed. Of course. I wasn't sure what I'd got myself into. The moment I accepted, Naruto rushed toward me and tried to hug me. Unfortunately, I was still as small as a sparrow, and it didn't go well. He nearly stepped on me. I lost a few tail feathers in the chaos. After that, I decided to perch safely on his shoulder. My curiosity got the better of me. "Why was water coming out of your eyes earlier?" "I wasn't crying," he shot back immediately. "So that was called crying. How interesting." I'd never done it before, though I'd seen certain demons back in Makai shed tears. But they did it for different reasons, not like this boy who seemed to cry from sadness and joy alike. Two opposing feelings, yet the same reaction. Humans were truly strange creatures. "So where are you heading?" I asked, eager to learn more about the place and its people. "Back to the orphanage." His voice fell a little like he didn't want to return. I wondered what an orphanage was. I'd soon find out. "Don't you have a home?" he asked after a pause. "Me, not at the moment, no." "Then come with me." His tone was bright and hopeful. Why not? I had nowhere else to go anyway. "I will then, thank you." I decided I liked this small human, much more than those who'd chased him earlier. "Great, now I've got someone to talk to, even if you're just a talking bird." "What? I am far more than that." "You should be honored to know me," I huffed. He was annoying, but also fun. For the first time, I wasn't alone. And neither was Naruto. As we walked through the village streets, I noticed something unsettling. People stared, no, glared at him with visible hatred. Their eyes were sharp, cold, full of disgust. They didn't even seem to see me sitting on his shoulder. Why did they hate him so much? What could a 7-year-old child have possibly done? Whispers followed us. "Demon child. It's that thing again. Why is it still here? Should have gotten rid of it already." Naruto must have heard them too. His shoulders tensed beneath me, but he just kept that same grin plastered on his face, one that looked more like a habit than real happiness. He didn't react to the stares or insults, just kept walking. He must have grown used to it. How cruel humans could be. I wanted to lift his spirits. I had promised to be his friend after all. "Do not worry," I said softly. "One day you'll show them who you truly are." His face lit up instantly. "Yeah, I will. I'll be the best, believe it." Such determination, an admirable trait. Without it, no one could ever face their challenges. We continued toward the orphanage, whatever that was. Sitting on his shoulder turned out to be quite convenient. I could see everything and ask endless questions, which he answered eagerly, though a bit too energetically. "What's that?" I'd ask, pointing a wing. "Oh, that's Ikaraku's best place ever. Their food's the greatest, believe it." "Not that over there," I'd say, and the cycle continued. After weaving through tall buildings, we turned onto a quieter street. Fewer people, fewer glares, a welcome relief. Soon, we stopped before a rather large, somewhat worn-down building. Children's voices echoed from inside. high-pitched like Naruto's. So this was the orphanage, a place for children without parents, I guessed. When we entered, I saw many young ones, some even smaller than Naruto. I hadn't realized humans could be so tiny. But I noticed something else. All the children kept their distance from him. None came close. "Why are they avoiding you?" I asked quietly. "The matron tells them to," he said, voice small. I thought I heard a sniff, but he covered it with his usual grin. Before I could respond, heavy footsteps approached. An adult appeared. "The matron," Naruto whispered. "Oh, it's just you," the matron said coldly. "You know, the only reason you're still here is because the Hawkage pays me to tolerate you." Then they turned away. I didn't like this human. Their eyes carried the same venom as the villagers. Disgusting, Naruto noticed my glare and smiled weakly. "Don't worry, I'm used to it, it could have been worse," if he said so. Still, I was glad I became his friend. He deserved companionship. He was the kind of human who should have had many friends, yet had none. Trying to lift his mood, I hopped onto his head and started picking through his hair. "Akarui-san, what are you doing?" he asked. "Helping. This always cheers me up. Don't worry, I won't set your hair on fire." He gave me a confused look but didn't stop me, so I continued. No one paid us any mind anyway. Still perched on his head, I followed him as he moved to another room. When he opened the door, I saw a small space with a bed-like structure, a cabinet, and a table. So this was his room. I fluttered around, inspecting everything. "That's called a bed," he explained, pointing. "And that's a cabinet." My curiosity satisfied, I landed back on his shoulder. He collapsed onto the bed with a loud plop, nearly squashing me. I barely dodged in time. Losing more feathers wasn't an option. I puffed up, ready to scold him when a loud bell rang. "That's dinner," he shouted and bolted out the door. I quickly settled on his shoulder again as he dashed down the hall. What an energetic boy. The dining hall was huge, packed with children. The matron stood at the front, serving food from a large metal pot, looking even more unpleasant than before. Naruto joined the line, and when he finally reached the front, the matron handed him a bowl. But as Naruto took it, the bowl slipped and fell, spilling soup all over the floor. The matron's eyes narrowed. "Look what you've done. I've had enough, I don't care what the Hawkage says, get out. Get out right now and don't come back," they screamed furiously. Naruto stood frozen, his small frame trembling. I could only watch, anger flaring inside me for the first time in a long while. "Die!" Naruto stood frozen, unable to move or react. The matron woman raised the soup ladle from the large gray pot, and that was enough to break Naruto's paralysis. He bolted. The matron chased after him, shouting angrily. Since it had proven useful before, I spat another tiny flame at the matron's hair. Apparently, human hair caught fire rather easily. While she flailed about in panic, Naruto used the distraction to dash out of the orphanage. Once he was far enough away, he stopped and turned toward me. "Thanks for helping me back there. It's no trouble at all, Naruto, but what do you plan to do now that you can't go back?" "You'll stay with me, right?" he asked, his eyes filled with desperation. "Of course, I am your friend, am I not?" But the question still remained, what would we do next? We couldn't return to the orphanage. The matron had made that very clear. That meant Naruto had nowhere to sleep, and neither of us had eaten. Wonderful, food at least seemed solvable. I could always go beyond the walls and hunt something down. The real challenge would be bringing it back without drawing attention. I looked at Naruto. "We need food and a place to stay. Is there any way to get those without the orphanage?" He kicked at the dirt. "No, I don't have any money." So that was how humans got what they needed, by trading these things called money. I had none either, having just arrived here. My first day wasn't going great. I had a friend, yes, but one with no shelter or food. "Did you have any in the orphanage?" I asked. "I might be able to fetch it." "Yeah, but we can't go back there," he murmured sadly. "I might manage it. Your room had a window. If you show me which one, I can sneak in and grab your things." "You can really do that?" "Of course. Now come on, let's go back. Just make sure no one sees you." We crept through the quiet streets back to the orphanage. Luckily, no one was around. When we got close enough, Naruto pointed toward a window. I didn't want him getting too near. The matron could have eyes sharp enough to spot him through walls. "Which window is yours?" I asked. "That one, I think," he said uncertainly, pointing toward one at the front. He thought. Hopefully, he was right. I spread my wings and flew up to the window he indicated. A narrow ledge sat beneath it, perfect for landing. Now, how to get in? Smashing the glass would be noisy. I could carve a hole instead, or maybe melt one. Too bad I couldn't just open it like a door. Scratching a hole seemed easiest. Enlarging myself slightly, I pressed a talon to the glass and applied pressure. It sliced smoothly, and a circular piece dropped softly to the floor inside. No noise. Perfect. I shrank down to my sparrow form and slipped inside. Hopefully this was Naruto's room. It looked familiar enough. I fluttered to the cabinet. Problem, I didn't have hands. How was I supposed to open it? Then I remembered something I'd once overheard in Makai: phoenixes supposedly could take human form. I'd never tried it, but there was no better time than now. Focusing on the image of a human, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, I willed my body to change. I felt the shift begin. Legs lengthened, wings became arms, feathers dissolved into skin. My beak softened into a mouth, my body reshaped into a human's. The transformation didn't hurt, but it felt incredibly strange. When it ended, I looked down at my new form. My eyesight and smell remained the same. I flexed my fingers, marveled at my feet, and tried to speak. Only a hoarse sound came out. Clothing, however, was an issue. Humans didn't have feathers, and I had none either now. I wobbled to the cabinet, struggling to walk properly. After fumbling with the handle, I pulled the doors open. Inside were shelves, a mirror, and some clothing. My reflection stared back at me, scarlet eyes, silver hair that shimmered faintly. Odd, but not unpleasant. I seemed older than Naruto, somewhere between a child and an adult. I rummaged through the shelves. Naruto's clothes were too small, but some larger garments sat at the back, perhaps from a former occupant. After figuring out how to wear them, I dressed. They were dark and dull compared to my usual colors, but they'd do. If I changed back into a phoenix, would these vanish or reappear next time? Hopefully. Humans clearly needed clothes. On a lower shelf, I found a large pouch good for carrying supplies. I packed some of Naruto's clothes, and the larger ones for myself. Then I spotted a strange, frog-shaped bag filled with circular bits and green papers. That must be money. It looked amusingly like something Naruto would own. Satisfied, I gathered everything and made my way back to the window. The hole I'd cut earlier wasn't quite big enough for all of it. Poor planning on my part. I decided to return to my true form. Concentrating, I pictured myself as a phoenix again. My human limbs shortened, feathers sprouted, wings replaced arms, and soon I was back to normal. Much better. My feathers shimmered, and to my relief, the clothes disappeared along with my human body. Perhaps they'd return with me next time. That would make things easier. I expanded my form once again. No longer the size of a sparrow, I now matched one of the large predatory birds I had seen soaring through the forest skies. I turned toward the glass window. Lifting one clawed foot, I pressed a sharp talon against the surface, tracing a new cut a short distance from the small hole I'd made earlier. With careful movements, I widened the opening until it was large enough for me to pass through easily. Behind me, I could hear footsteps approaching the door. Time was running out. I quickly caught the frog demon pouch with my beak and tossed it through the hole, following with the pouch that held the clothes. Without hesitation, I slipped out after them. The doorknob turned just as I left, and matron human's voice drifted through the crack. Now that demon brat's finally gone, I can clean out his room and be rid of every trace of him. Bet he even left behind the allowance the hawkage sends him. Unfortunately for her, I'd already taken care of that. I grabbed the frog demon bag again, tucked it inside the clothing pouch, and clutched it tightly with my talons before flying off the sill. All done before the door fully opened. Matron Human really took her time. She would probably notice the large hole I'd made, but that didn't matter anymore. By the time she realized, I would already be far away, with everything that belonged to Naruto. I flew back toward Naruto, who was waiting where I'd left him. "What took you so long, Akarui-san, and how'd you get so big?" His tone held curiosity, not annoyance. I ran into a few problems. Also, I can adjust my size. Curse that cabinet, made only for human hands. Before he could comment, I dropped the pouch containing the frog demon bag into his hands. When he opened it, his eyes lit up. Yay. Gama-chan, so that was its name. Odd. The money's in there, right? I asked, just to make sure I'd taken the right pouch. Yup, Gama-chan's full C. He proudly held up the pouch. I just nodded. What else could I say? So, where are we eating? My stomach was growling, and I figured his was too. Can we go to Ikaraku's? It's the best place ever. Of course, lead the way. Ikaraku's, that was where we were headed. I was curious what humans even ate. Soon I'd find out. It was the same place Naruto had pointed out earlier, a small open stall where people sat and ate from bowls. If humans used bowls, how was I supposed to eat with a beak and no hands? And was their food even safe for me? What if it made me sick? Probably not, but still, I could always eat in my human form if necessary. I'd rather not, though, even speak properly like that yet. And responding to questions with grunts wasn't exactly subtle. I could always fly back to the forest and hunt, but I didn't want to lose track of Naruto. For now, food came first. Finding shelter could wait. Shrunken back to sparrow size, I perched on Naruto's shoulder as we walked toward Ikaraku's along a crowded street. As usual, people glared at him. A few even noticed me this time, but I ignored their stares. They'd think I was just an ordinary bird. Still, I kept an eye out. They might not harm me, but Naruto was another matter. When we reached the stall, Naruto hopped onto one of the stools. I stayed on his shoulder. The man behind the counter noticed him. "Hey Naruto, back again?" "Yup, and I made a new friend." He gestured toward me. "I can see that," the man said, giving me a strange look but nothing more. Good. Maybe humans often befriended birds. With how odd humans could be, I wouldn't be surprised. I decided to call this one Ikaraku human. "What'll it be, Naruto?" "Miso ramen, please." Naruto's voice was bright and cheerful. He really did love this place. "Coming right up," Ikaraku human said, disappearing into the back. Naruto turned to me. "Miso ramen's my favorite," I chirped in agreement. If he said so, maybe it was good. Still, I stayed cautious. Nice or not, I didn't fully trust any human yet. When Ikaraku human returned, he placed a steaming bowl before Naruto. Curious, I hopped onto the rim to inspect it. Inside were long yellow strands with strange round things floating on top. So this was human food. It looked awful. How could they eat this stuff? "Enjoy," Ikaraku human said. Naruto responded with a muffled thanks, before devouring it like a starving beast. He ate so fast I barely had time to blink, and nearly got smacked by those sticks he was using. Then he yelled, "More, please." He actually wanted more of that weird food. Maybe it tasted better than it looked. I decided to try some for myself. When the next bowl arrived, I stole 2 of the yellow strands. "Hey," Naruto looked at me. "What?" "I just wanted a taste." "Oh, okay then." I only took 2 of those strange long things. Thankfully, Ikaraku human wasn't at the counter to hear me talk. "They're noodles," Naruto said, anticipating my question. I was asking him a lot lately, so that wasn't surprising. "So those yellow things were noodles, got it." I ate the 2 noodles and was taken aback. They tasted strange, but not bad. Certainly better than they looked. Since I was small, they filled me up quickly. I decided to just wait while Naruto continued eating. He kept going, bowl after bowl. I stared at the growing stack in disbelief. How could a human eat that much? Was his stomach bottomless? Finally, after many bowls, he finished, thanked Ikaraku human, paid, and left. I perched back on his shoulder, my favorite spot. Night was settling in. We needed a place to stay, but where? I scanned the area for shelter. Great, we were homeless. "Do you have anywhere to sleep?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "No," he kicked the dirt, clearly upset. "Don't worry, we'll find somewhere," I said to comfort him. He just kept looking around quietly. Worst case, we could stay outside. I'd be fine, but he shouldn't. Humans needed proper shelter. "Do you know anyone who might help you?" He thought for a moment. "Yeah. Ogi-san might." Ogi-san, his grandfather. That couldn't be right. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in an orphanage. Must be someone he just called that. "And where's your Ogi-san?" I asked. "He's in the Hawkage Tower," Naruto said excitedly, his energy returning. "Then we should head there," I replied. No sense wasting time. Night was coming fast. With that, Naruto began walking toward the village center. I didn't know where that tower was, but I guessed I'd find out soon enough. After Naruto walked for some time, he stopped before a towering red structure. This must have been the Hawkage Tower he mentioned earlier. Whatever a Hawkage actually was. By now, dusk had faded completely, and night had begun to settle in. He stepped inside the building and made his way toward a person seated behind a desk, likely a receptionist. As Naruto approached, the person didn't even bother looking up. Without glancing his way, the receptionist muttered, "Do you have an appointment?" What an inattentive human. It would be so easy to sneak up on them if they were always like this. Then again, not every human acted the same way. I had noticed that no two humans were completely identical, neither in looks nor behavior. The Ikaraku human had treated Naruto kindly, unlike the majority of others. He even looked different from the rest. So each human must be distinct in their own way. "I want to see Oji-san," Naruto exclaimed energetically. As always, his energy was endless. He really was a peculiar human, different from the rest, but far more likable. He was my favorite human, mostly because he was the only one I could call a friend. That finally made the receptionist look up. The moment their eyes landed on Naruto, their expression shifted, unpleasant and cold. I silently placed this human into the category of those who dislike Naruto. The other, much smaller category, those who like Naruto, currently had only one member, the Ikaraku human. "You need an appointment to meet the Hokage," the receptionist said stiffly, voice filled with disdain. "But I really have to see him." I had now deduced that this Oji-san must be the Hokage Naruto spoke of, whatever that meant. But we did need to meet him, otherwise, where would Naruto sleep tonight? I could easily rest outside, but Naruto couldn't. "I said, you need an appointment," the human repeated. We were clearly stuck. While I was considering our options, another human came into view. This one wore mostly white, with a large triangular object, red and white, resting on his head. His face had wrinkles, likely from age. I decided to name him Wrinkly Human. The Wrinkly Human spotted Naruto. "Naruto, what are you doing here?" His tone sounded friendly, so I placed him, for now, in the those who like Naruto category. Though who knew what might happen later? "Oji-san," Naruto shouted, leaping toward him, literally bouncing with excitement. Since I was perched on his shoulder, the motion threw me off balance, and I tumbled off. Fortunately, I regained flight before touching the floor. How embarrassing. Good thing no one I knew was around to see that. Unfortunately, the movement caught the wrinkly human's attention. "Naruto, what is that?" he asked, staring at me. "It's my new friend," Naruto said proudly. I was flattered, though his words only made the wrinkly human focus on me even more. I chirped softly, trying to seem like an ordinary bird. For now, I didn't want anyone else to know I was a phoenix. One human companion was enough. "I've never seen a bird like that," the wrinkly human muttered, suspicion in his eyes. I silently prayed that Naruto wouldn't mention anything about my ability to talk or what I truly was. Humans seemed unpredictable, even cruel at times, especially to their own kind. If they treated Naruto badly, what would they do to me, a being outside their species? I doubted they could harm me, but humans could still cause problems, like trying to send me back to my own world. I couldn't allow that. Better to stay unnoticed for now. "Guess what?" Naruto said excitedly. Oh no, that tone never meant anything good. "Akarui can talk." Oh, brilliant. What had the little human done? Now everything would be exposed. I wanted to speak with other humans someday, but only when I understood them better. Not now. Maybe there was still hope. If I stayed silent, perhaps the wrinkly human would assume Naruto was joking. I held myself back from pecking him, though the urge was strong. "Please, Naruto, don't say anything else. And he's a phoenix." Of course, complete failure. I should have told him not to mention that. Never again would I assume this child understood basic caution. The wrinkly human's eyes widened. Recognition flashed across his face. He clearly knew the legends of my kind. So now there was no denying what I was. My cover as a normal, if dazzling, bird was ruined. Wonderful. Not even one day here and things were already going wrong. "A phoenix," the wrinkly human breathed in shock. His mouth hung open for a few moments before he blurted, "What is a phoenix doing here?" His voice was loud, startled, but curious. He definitely knew more about my species than Naruto, who probably didn't even know what the word meant. The human stared at me in silence, then asked, "Naruto, where did you find it?" I was offended. Really, I had a name which Naruto had already provided, so I corrected him. "I'll have you know that I have a name," I said sharply. I didn't care if it sounded rude, my pride was at stake. The wrinkly human blinked in surprise, his mouth falling open again. Then he said, "Ah, forgive me. Akarui-san, was it?" At least he remembered. That soothed my irritation. Yes, that's right, I replied, then tilted my head. What's that thing on your head? And are you a male or female human? His jaw dropped once more. It opened, closed, then he made an odd wheezing sound before catching his breath. The thing on my head is called a hat, he finally said. And I'm male. So that mystery was solved. I quickly refocused. Anyway, I began, fixing my gaze on him, we need to talk. I was still perched on Naruto's shoulder, though. Of course, he said, gesturing for us to follow. Let's continue this in my office. He turned and led the way, and Naruto, still confused about what a phoenix was, trailed after him. We entered a room where the wrinkly human sat behind a desk. Naruto took a seat in front of him, on what I assumed was called a chair. Humans seemed to like sitting on those. I landed on the desk and expanded from my small sparrow-like form to my full bird-of-prey size for effect. The wrinkly human looked shocked, which wasn't surprising at this point. So, I began firmly, since you now know what I am, I ask that you tell no one. The same goes for Naruto. I prefer to stay hidden from humans for the time being. Naruto nodded. He could tell I was serious. The wrinkly human studied me carefully. In return, I want your word that you won't harm this village. What kind of creature do you take me for? I replied coolly. I came here to learn, not destroy. Hurting the village would serve no purpose. I had no interest in causing chaos, only to explore and understand this world. I won't harm this village. I said nothing about the humans themselves. To me, the village and its people were separate matters. The wrinkly human leaned back, lost in thought. Hopefully, he believed me. I didn't wish to leave just yet. This place intrigued me, and besides, Naruto was entertaining despite his tendency to blurt out everything. I suppose that was another reason to keep close to him, to make sure he didn't spill more secrets. Or perhaps that was just my excuse. That's fine, I said, relieved that he wouldn't expose my existence to other humans. You should speak with Naruto, I added. After all, he was the one in need right now, with nowhere to stay. The old man turned toward Naruto. How have you been, Naruto? He asked gently, genuine concern in his voice. Naruto shuffled awkwardly, tugging at his shirt. Okay, I guess, except, he trailed off, hesitant to continue. Except what? The elder asked, still calm and kind. The orphanage kicked me out and told me not to come back, Naruto blurted out quickly, almost stumbling over his words. That's actually why we came here, I explained. Naruto said you might be able to help. The old man's face tightened, anger flashing across his features. His expression reminded me of the matron's when she banished Naruto, but his anger seemed directed at the orphanage, not Naruto himself. They kicked you out, he repeated, visibly upset. He twitched slightly, then sighed and pulled a small brown stick from his desk, placing it between his lips. He lit the other end, and thin trails of smoke began to rise. Humans truly did odd things. He sat quietly, deep in thought. I hoped he was considering some form of punishment for the matron. I certainly didn't like her. Surely, he must know that Naruto disliked that place too. He'd known Naruto far longer than I had. Finally, the old man spoke. Naruto, I could give you your own apartment, but you'd be living alone. Would that be okay? He likely realized that if the orphanage didn't want him, no one else in the village would take him in either. Naruto's face lit up. He started bouncing in excitement. Thankfully, I was perched on the table this time, not his shoulder. Really, I get my own apartment, can I? He shouted eagerly. I agreed, it was far better than the orphanage. Though did he really have to yell that loud? My poor ears, then he added, besides, I won't be alone. Akarui's with me, right? He looked at me with hopeful eyes. Of course, I couldn't disappoint him. Naturally, I said. He truly was a likable human. If he had his own living space, I'd worry less about being discovered. The orphanage was crowded and full of eyes. A private home would be safer for me, and I could even practice my human form in secret. I still hadn't managed to speak properly while in that shape. While Naruto continued his cheerful bouncing, the old man let out that peculiar sound again. What humans called a laugh, I think. I'll take that as a yes, he said once he stopped chuckling. Then he turned serious. Naruto, could you step outside for a moment? I'd like to speak with Akarui-san. He wanted to talk to me. About what? Perhaps to continue our earlier discussion. Naruto obediently left, and the old man looked at me with an unreadable expression. Akarui-san, do you care for Naruto? The question surprised me, but I thought about it. I did care for the boy. He was young, innocent, and easy to like. So I answered truthfully, of course. Why else would I stay by his side? The old man's gaze softened. He truly did care about Naruto. Then please continue to do so. He needs someone like you. I'll allow you to remain in the village as long as you don't harm anyone and stay a friend to Naruto. That was acceptable. Both conditions suited me perfectly. Consider it done, I said. Perhaps his decision was swayed, because he knew how close I was to Naruto. I'd also begun to suspect that this old man wasn't just Naruto's grandfather figure. He was someone important, maybe even a leader. He certainly had the authority to make such decisions. Then we're finished here. You should call Naruto back. He nodded, and Naruto came bounding in moments later, full of energy as always. Naruto, let's go see your new apartment, said the old man. Really? Awesome, I get an apartment. Believe it, Naruto shouted, his enthusiasm nearly deafening me. Shrinking back to my small sparrow size, I perched again on his shoulder as the old man opened the door and let us out. We passed the receptionist and exited the tall building. Outside, night had already fallen. People still walked the streets, and I noticed figures leaping across rooftops, something I'd missed before. Humans were endlessly fascinating. Darkness didn't bother me. I could see perfectly fine. I wondered if humans could as well. Perhaps I'd find out someday. We followed the old man through winding streets until he stopped in front of a modest building. This will be your apartment, he said. Naruto's eyes widened. Can I go inside, please? The old man pulled a small metallic object from his robes and inserted it into a slot in the door. The mechanism clicked. What's that? I asked. This is a key, he explained. It unlocks the door, only this one fits here. He handed it to Naruto. Don't lose it, and yes, you can go in. Naruto rushed inside, exploring his new home. I turned to the old man. Could I have one of those keys too, just in case I ever get locked out? He raised a brow. But how would you use it without hands? I have my ways, I replied vaguely. I wasn't ready to reveal my human form yet. Without further comment, he handed me an extra key. I enlarged myself slightly to grasp it carefully with my talon and flew inside after Naruto. From the doorway, the old man called, I'll be leaving now, Naruto. Enjoy your new home. Bye, Oji-san, Naruto shouted from another room. I also bid him farewell. He smiled and said it had been nice meeting me before departing. Once he was gone, I turned my attention to our surroundings. The apartment was divided into several rooms, one with a bed and cabinets, another with cooking tools and a small table, and a third with odd white porcelain fixtures. The bathroom, as Naruto had called it. The bedroom also had a door leading to a small space enclosed by metal bars. A balcony, to prevent humans from falling, I assumed. Naruto ran around gleefully, inspecting everything. I asked him the names of each item until I'd learned them all. The balcony railing would make a perfect perch, I decided. I'm tired now, I told him, flying to rest atop one of the cabinets. I'll sleep here. Me too. Good night, Akarui. Thanks for being my friend, he said sleepily. He dropped the san, but I didn't mind. Good night, Naruto. I had grown attached to this little human. Yes, I cared for him, but that wasn't the reason I was in the human world. I had come to study humans, to explore this realm beyond Makai, and satisfy my curiosity. Originally, I planned only to observe, maybe interact with one or two. But now, things had changed. I had discovered my human form, something that would make life here far more interesting. With it, I could blend in and interact freely. I only needed to master it. Tomorrow, I would begin practicing. When morning came, I decided to head to the bathroom. Naruto had told me that was what it was called. The mirror there would help me observe my transformation. I flew from my perch and landed before the door. Problem, it was shut. And since Naruto was still asleep, I couldn't ask for help. Humans loved their handles and knobs, it was frustrating. Still, it wasn't an issue for long. I simply shifted forms. I focused on my human image. The transformation began. My wings stretched into arms, my legs reshaped, and my feathers vanished one by one. Once the transformation was done, I turned to glance at Naruto, making sure he was still asleep. I didn't want to frighten him with this appearance. He'd never seen me like this before. If he woke up now, he'd probably start yelling and running everywhere, and stopping him would be quite the task. I stretched out my new hand and wrapped it around the doorknob. Still clumsy. My coordination would definitely need improvement. This door wasn't like the cabinet one back at the orphanage. It wouldn't pull open. I paused, thinking, how did Naruto open doors like this again? Ah, that's right, he twisted the knob. I mimicked that motion, and the door swung open. Satisfied with the result, I walked inside, feeling oddly proud of such a small success. Now came the hard part, getting used to moving around properly and learning how to speak in this shape. Talking to humans required, well, knowing how to talk first. Crossing the room, I grew irritated by how unsteady my walk was. Human knees bent the wrong way. It amazed me that humans could walk at all. Still, I had to adapt. I didn't have a choice. Reaching the mirror, I stared at the reflection staring back. The sight never failed to startle me. Humans were such strange creatures, both in behavior and design. I still looked as before, silver hair, red eyes, and my clothes had transformed along with me. At least I didn't have to redress every time I changed forms. Humans seemed to require clothing, so it was fortunate my transformation accounted for that. Facing the mirror, I tried forming a word. The result was a strangled noise, definitely not speech. Failure. Humans use something called a larynx for producing sound. Their mouths shape the noise afterward. I'd read that in a scroll once. As a bird, I used a syrinx instead, able to sing two tones at once depending on muscle control and airflow. My beak didn't do much to help. Unlike humans, I could even speak with it closed or full of food. But still, humans and birds made sound in completely opposite ways. My old voice wouldn't work here. I'd need to learn this method from scratch. It was all so foreign, the muscles, the air, the position of everything. The scroll had described humans, but hadn't explained how to act or speak like one. I tried again and again, nothing but choked noises. The voice box's location threw me off, but humans only spoke from that place, so I'd eventually have to manage. Maybe I was aiming too high. Instead of forcing a full word, perhaps I should just focus on making a sound that didn't sound like I was suffocating. After several tries, I finally produced a clear tone. Victory. By slightly changing the shape of my mouth and the tension in my throat, I could make different sounds. Progress, at least. But even now, I didn't fully grasp how humans coordinated their mouths with the voice box. Another puzzle for later. Naruto was still sleeping. Understandable, I had risen early. Unlike him, I didn't need much rest. I decided to keep practicing until he woke. After a while, I stopped. The results were unsatisfactory, but I'd try again later. Repetition would eventually make it right. Movement outside the door caught my attention. Naruto was awake. Quickly, I reverted to my bird form and fluttered out through the open door. "Good morning, Naruto," I greeted. "Morning, Akarui," he said brightly. His energy was endless. I couldn't blame him. His life had changed so suddenly. "Are you going to eat?" I asked, feeling a bit hungry myself. "Yeah, let's get ramen." Ramen, again. He'd eaten that just yesterday. "You had that yesterday," I pointed out. Eating the same thing too often wasn't healthy. "But I want it again," he argued. That dish couldn't possibly be nutritious. It didn't even look healthy. "You should buy other foods. Besides, the apartment's empty, you'll need to restock anyway. Get more than just ramen. I want to try other things too." Truthfully, some human food smelled interesting. Ramen wasn't awful, but variety would be nice. "Oh yeah, I need to buy food," he exclaimed. Indeed, we had none left. "And tidy up your things," I added, glancing at his unpacked bag. "Your clothes belong in a cabinet." "Oh, I'll do that later," he muttered, "of course." He dashed out the door and I perched on his shoulder as we went. Our destination, the grocery market. It wasn't too far, and Naruto was practically bouncing with energy. Inside, I was greeted by endless rows of food, so many kinds, from leafy greens to different meats. Naruto grimaced at the vegetables. "Veggies. Gross," he muttered. "They didn't look bad to me, certainly healthier than those yellow noodles. At least they looked more natural." And sure enough, he beelined for the ramen aisle, grabbing packets labeled instant ramen by the armful. "Naruto, you can't just live on ramen," I reminded him. "You need a balanced diet, so do I for that matter." "But ramen's the best." "You can buy some," I compromised, "but get other food too." "But you'll grow taller if you eat other things," I interrupted. That worked. His eyes lit up, and he sprinted off, filling his basket with all sorts of random foods, including vegetables. He still grabbed ramen, though. At least he managed to pay for everything using his frog-shaped wallet, Gama-chan. I was glad I didn't need to set anyone's hair on fire over money. I doubted the wrinkled human would have appreciated that. With all the food packed in a large bag, we headed home, or rather, back to Naruto's apartment. Oddly, I'd started to think of it as *home*. Once there, Naruto unlocked the door and went straight to the kitchen, opening the strange cold box. Refrigerator, he'd called it. It kept food cool. I hopped off his shoulder to inspect it up close, and leapt inside one of the shelves. The chill bit at my feathers, then slam, the door shut. Naruto hadn't noticed me. Unbelievable. The little human child had just trapped me in here. I flapped in irritation. He really needed to pay better attention. Still, this skill, observation, might prove vital for him later, considering the dangerous humans I'd seen around this place. Now, how to escape? It was freezing. I could shift into a larger form and push the door, but it wouldn't budge. Destroying the thing was tempting, but it wasn't mine, and Naruto only had one refrigerator. That left one option, calling for help. How humiliating. Naruto, open the refrigerator. Huh, Akarui, where are you? Of course. I needed to teach him how to think too. It would be important later. I'm inside the refrigerator, please open it. My voice was nearly shaking from the cold. The door opened. Akarui, how'd you get in there? He asked, genuinely confused. I sighed. Don't worry about it, Naruto, it won't happen again. That much was certain. No more stepping into cold boxes. Honestly, I'd managed to embarrass myself more in 2 days here than in my entire existence in Makai. What kind of situation had I gotten myself into? Truly, what had I just signed up for? Once Naruto had finally cleaned his apartment enough to make it somewhat livable, things felt far more comfortable. I spent most of my days learning new words and talking to Naruto, attempting to teach him how to think before he acted. He wasn't unintelligent, just untrained. No one had ever guided him properly, so while he was a bit slow at first, he did start picking things up. Each morning, before Naruto woke, I would take on my human form and practice speaking. It was far harder than I imagined. After much observing, watching both Naruto and other people, I began to understand. Hours spent talking to my reflection finally paid off. I could now speak clearly while in my human shape. Today was the day I would reveal it to Naruto. He had never seen me like that before. I expected he would be thrilled, perhaps even amazed. My human form allowed me to do more things, and I wanted to explore the village that way. That morning, I practiced my speech again. I believed I spoke quite well now, and I was proud of that. I waited for Naruto to wake, though he always slept far too long. He was nearly impossible to wake, so I simply waited patiently. Then I heard him stir. Finally, he always took forever, still, I waited a bit longer. He was probably only half awake. Soon, I heard movement near where he prepared food, the kitchen, as he called it. I stepped out from the restroom into the kitchen. There he was. I stood silently, curious to see how he'd react to me. When he noticed me, his eyes grew wide before he leapt up and shouted, "Ah, who are you?" So loud, I'd never get used to his volume. He pointed accusingly at me as he yelled. "It's me, Akarui," I said, waiting for his reaction. "Akarui, you're human. Are you sure you're Akarui?" His tone wasn't quite what I expected. I thought he'd run around in excitement. Instead, he questioned if I was really me. Of course I was me, who else would I be? "Yes, it's me, Akarui. This is my human form." I clarified, hoping for a better reaction this time. As my words sank in, his mouth fell open, though nothing came out. That usually meant he was shocked. Then he suddenly shouted, "Whoa, you can turn human." Now he was running in circles. I'd expected that earlier, but better late than never. I made a strange sound, something like laughter, before realizing what it was. Humans made that sound often when amused. I stopped, confused for a moment, then looked at Naruto. His face shifted into another unfamiliar expression. "It's not funny," he grumbled. "But it was, so I told him so." "Yes, it was." His expression changed again. Humans had so many facial gestures, I really needed a guidebook to keep track of them all. My own human face, in comparison, looked rather blank. I hadn't yet learned which expressions matched which emotions. How did humans manage all this? In my true form, I'd never expressed emotion through my face. It made sense that I'd struggle now. I decided I'd figure it out later. Then Naruto grabbed my hand, tugging me toward the door. Come on, let's go to the village. His excitement had returned full force. His surprise had clearly transformed into joy. All right, let's go, I agreed. This would be my first time exploring in human form. I hoped I could walk properly. While I'd practiced, I still wasn't perfect. We stepped outside. The village looked completely different from this height. Before, I'd always perched on Naruto's shoulder. Now I towered above him, seeing everything from a new perspective. Where do you want to go, Naruto? I asked. He'd have to lead. I still didn't know the area well. Let's go to the park, he said eagerly. A park? I wasn't sure what that was, but I'd find out soon enough. Naruto tugged me along through the streets. I tried to memorize the paths as we went, but the village was large and full of confusing turns. So many humans were around us. Most ignored us, though a few glared. Their stares lingered on me too, puzzled perhaps at why I was with Naruto. Maybe not many people spent time with him. I ignored them, and Naruto just smiled widely. His usual expression, I assumed. Eventually, we arrived at what he called the park, a wide, green space filled with trees and grass. It looked peaceful, except for the area full of children shouting and playing around some strange structure and a box of sand. A box of sand? Humans really did peculiar things. My confusion didn't last long. The children ran into the sand and started playing with it. So that's what it was for. But Naruto didn't stop there. He kept walking deeper into the park where the trees grew thicker, until the children's laughter faded behind us. Ahead, I spotted a clearing where two people were fighting, or sparring, perhaps. One wielded small black knives while the other fought barehanded. The one with weapons lunged, but his opponent dodged gracefully, almost like a dance, then kicked him across the clearing. The armed one recovered quickly, moving so fast he nearly vanished, but the unarmed fighter countered again, throwing him effortlessly. Clearly, the unarmed one was stronger. There were no flashy attacks like I'd seen before, no jutsus. I think that's what they were called. This was pure hand-to-hand combat, impressive strength and agility for humans. After a while, they stopped, nodded to each other, exchanged a few words I couldn't hear, and then, to my surprise, glanced directly toward us before leaving. They'd noticed us despite fighting? Incredible. Who were those humans? I turned to Naruto, noticing the awe in his eyes. Naruto, who were they? I asked curiously. They're ninjas, shinobi. I'm gonna be one someday, he declared proudly. Ninjas, shinobi. They were humans, but clearly different from the ones on the streets. I made a mental note to study them further. They fascinated me. So that was why he'd brought me here, to see those fighters. After they left, Naruto led us out of the park. By the time we left, it was midday. Do you want to eat at Ikaraku's? I asked. Predictably, he yelled, yes, loud enough for half the village to hear. I decided to return to my true form before we went. Much easier that way. I slipped into an alley, changed back into my phoenix form, still sparrow-sized, and flew to Naruto's shoulder. My true form always felt more natural. At Ikaraku's, Naruto ordered his usual miso ramen, his favorite. I only took a couple of noodles. That was enough for me. After we ate, Naruto went back to his apartment. I perched quietly on his shoulder, lost in thought. My day exploring the village as a human had been fascinating. There was still so much I didn't understand about humans, but I had plenty of time to learn. I realized I needed to figure out a way to get some money. I couldn't just take all of Naruto. If I had some human currency, I could buy books and scrolls and learn more about this world. But how exactly did humans get money? I had to figure that out. While I was lost in thought, Naruto suddenly stopped moving. I glanced up to see why, and there he was, facing the wrinkly human. Hello, Naruto. The old man's expression made it seem like he had some exciting news. Oji-san, Naruto ran up to him eagerly. Naruto, I have something good to tell you. Good news. I wondered what it could be. I'm sure Naruto was just as curious. Really, what is it? Do I get free ramen? Could he ever stop thinking about food? The wrinkly human made that strange noise he always did. No, Naruto, it's even better. I've enrolled you in the Ninja Academy. Naruto's eyes went wide, then he practically bounced with joy. Really, Oji-san, you did? Yay. I'll become the greatest ninja ever, believe it. Naruto aimed high as always. He was actually going to become one of those fighting humans. Somehow, that thought made me uneasy. It seemed dangerous. The old man chuckled that same odd sound. Yes, yes, I'm sure you will, Naruto. Then Naruto turned back to him. Hey, Oji-san, the strongest ninja in the village is you, right? And you're the Hokage, so I'll become Hokage too. The wrinkly human smiled. The academy starts in 3 days, Naruto. Classes begin at 7 in the morning. 3 days? That was sudden. I'll be ready, I thought to myself though. 7 in the morning? Naruto usually slept until 9 or 10. I'd probably end up having to wake him. Getting him out of bed was nearly impossible. Still, he was going to an academy. If he was learning, I could tag along and learn as well. Definitely, I needed to go. The wrinkly human then glanced at me. Hello, Akarui-san. Hello, wrinkly human. Oops, did I just say that aloud? Too late. He made a choked sound, clearly surprised. Oji-san, are you okay? Naruto asked, concerned. I was too. I'm fine, Naruto, the man gasped, regaining his composure. Then he looked back at me. So Akarui-san, how have you been? I'm fine, I said, though my mind wandered to money. Maybe he knew a way to earn some. Is there a way for me to get some money? I'd like to buy things that might help me. He studied me for a moment. For now, I can give you some, but you'll have to earn your own later. I'll give it to Naruto first, since you probably can't hold it yet. Thank you. Finally, some money for books and scrolls. He handed the money to Naruto and reminded him, don't forget, the academy starts in 3 days. I would make sure of that if he did. After the old man left, I thought about the academy. It was sudden, but fine. Naruto was still bouncing with excitement, and I felt excited too. An academy meant learning, maybe even about those ninja humans and their strange abilities, like fire techniques. And I still needed to understand humans better. Male or female? I had noticed differences, but I wasn't sure. Seeing more people at the academy might help. The 3 days would fly by. In the meantime, I could fly around the village or explore with Naruto, who was still practically vibrating with energy. I planned how to attend the academy, shrink down to sparrow size and ride on Naruto's shoulder, or maybe hide in his pocket, though that was risky. He could forget I was there and accidentally, well, it would not end well. I also noticed Naruto liked to prank people. I wondered if the academy would affect that. Maybe it would teach him to think before acting, though. Would it? Before it started, I decided to convince Naruto to get a super loud alarm to actually wake him up. That plan didn't go well. The alarm failed to wake him, and it went off at 3 in the morning instead. I woke up in a panic, shrieked, and attacked it. Now all that was left was a scorch mark on Naruto's cabinet. And he slept through the whole thing. I was in a foul mood, but there was nothing I could do. Humans and their sleeping habits were extreme. On the day the academy began, I woke early and practiced my human form to pass the time. Eventually, it was time to wake Naruto, impossible as it seemed. Naruto, wake up. I tried, nothing. Wake up! Still nothing. Maybe food would work. Ikaraku's has a ramen sale today. Huh, what, where? It worked well mostly. He seemed to only hear the word ramen tangled in his sheets. Good morning, Naruto. Good morning. He noticed the scorch mark. What happened to the alarm clock? You didn't wake up to it, so I got mad at it. Close enough. The academy starts today. His eyes widened. Ah, am I late? No, but you'll be if you don't hurry. He dashed around, getting ready. I headed to the kitchen in human form, trying to figure out instant ramen. Hot water, pour it in, wait 3 minutes, why? Human food was confusing. Naruto bounded in, finished in just over 3 minutes, and even made some for me. How did he do that? Eventually, we were ready. Let's go. Let's go, he rushed, and I flew onto his shoulder, returning to my true form. At the academy, kids and parents crowded the entrance. Naruto's classmates, perhaps, but they kept their distance. The humans clearly weren't thrilled with him. Inside, Naruto got assigned a class, and I drew a few stairs perched on his shoulder. Uruka-sensei arrived, wearing a vest, dark pants, and a headband-like thing. He was apparently a chunin. He noticed me, gave a strange look, and ignored me afterward. Finally, class began. I listened intently, eager to learn. Even if Uruka Human's lecture wasn't the most exciting, this was my chance to gather knowledge about the world. Naruto, on the other hand, didn't seem nearly as focused. His eyes drifted around the room, attention clearly wandering. It was obvious he wasn't really listening. Uruka kept talking endlessly, his voice steady and patient. I actually found his words rather intriguing, but judging by the glazed expressions on half the class, not everyone shared my opinion. Was that one human actually asleep? Then something he said made me pay attention. "What do you all know about the Hokage?" he asked. Naruto's head lifted slightly, interest flickering for the first time that morning. A student sitting near the middle raised a hand. "There have been 4 Hokage so far, but right now the 3rd Hokage is in charge." "So that wrinkled human was the 3rd one then?" Uruka nodded. "And what about the 4th Hokage?" The same student replied quickly, "Clever one. The 4th Hokage sacrificed himself to defeat the Kyuubi." "Wait, what? The 4th Hokage killed the Kyuubi? Impossible. No human could destroy the Kyuubi, the strongest among the 9-tailed beasts." The idea itself was absurd. If that was true, though, where was the Kyuubi now? This was supposed to be the same world I found myself in, yet I hadn't sensed the beast's presence at all. I'd assumed he was far away, but now they claimed he was gone. No, that couldn't be right. Humans weren't powerful enough to kill something like that. Still, if it was true, I had even more reason to tread carefully around these mortals. I decided to stay alert for any sign of the tailed beasts. They should exist in this world as well, but now that I thought about it, I hadn't felt any of them nearby. Perhaps it was distance, or maybe something had happened to them since. Uruka kept lecturing, though I barely heard him anymore. It was hard to focus when I just learned that supposedly the mightiest of demons had been slain by a human. After a while, another thought struck me. Wasn't this supposed to be a ninja academy? Shouldn't we be learning to fight instead of studying history? That made little sense. But then Uruka began explaining something called chakra. Now that caught my attention. He described it as a blend of spiritual and physical energy used to perform techniques known as jutsu. I listened closely. It made me wonder, could I use chakra while in human form? Possibly, or maybe not. It was an intriguing idea. Back in my phoenix form, I'd always been able to control fire freely. Maybe that energy I used had been chakra all along, or perhaps something else entirely. Even in this body, summoning flames wasn't difficult. I'd accidentally discovered that after setting one of Naruto's small pieces of furniture ablaze. It wasn't large, thankfully, and I doubt Naruto even noticed. It had been an honest mistake. I hadn't realized I could do that yet. By the end of the lesson, Uruka announced, "Tomorrow we'll be training outside. We'll start learning taijutsu." Taijutsu. I wasn't sure what that meant, but at least tomorrow sounded more exciting. When class ended, marking the end of my first day at the academy, I found myself intrigued. What would come next? The academy days were interesting enough, but it was the time afterward that truly fascinated me. After school, I often explored the village to learn more about it. That day, I decided to visit a place Naruto had mentioned, the bookstore. Apparently, it sold books full of information. I even had some money from the wrinkly human, so it seemed like a good idea. I wanted books about humans, this world, and maybe something that explained what had happened to the Kyuubi. Learning more about chakra also seemed useful. Maybe I could even share what I found with Naruto. He never seemed to pay much attention in class. As we ate in his apartment, I said, "Naruto, I'm going to the bookstore. Do you want to come?" He shook his head. "Nah, I've got something else to do." That was fine by me. I shifted into my human form. I could walk decently now and speak most words properly, though a few still gave me trouble. "See you later, Naruto." "Bye," he called. Once outside, I looked around. Now, which way was the bookstore again? Left or right? I couldn't recall. That wasn't great. I'd have to ask a human for directions, something that felt rather beneath a phoenix. But it couldn't be helped. Down the street stood a group of humans, not quite adults, not children either. Likely females, though human appearance still confused me. "Excuse me," I asked politely, "could you tell me where the bookstore is?" They just stared for a second before one of them let out a high-pitched squeal that made my ears ring. Odd creatures. Instead of answering, they only made strange noises. Since that was going nowhere, I turned to leave, but they started following me. Persistent, weren't they? Humans truly behaved in the oddest ways. I merged into a crowd to lose them, which worked, but now I was completely lost. Being human was frustrating. How did they memorize all these winding streets? Maybe I should give them more credit. Lost. I a phoenix lost. How ridiculous. I decided to wander a bit longer in this form, giving myself 20 minutes to find something familiar before I took to the sky again. Flying would be easier, though I didn't know what the bookstore looked like from above, which was the whole reason I'd chosen to walk. As I walked through the busy streets, I thought about how strange this world still was. So vast, so unfamiliar, yet so full of mystery. Exploring it felt overwhelming and exhilarating all at once. Still, it was more fun when Naruto was around. At least he knew the way and was entertaining company. After about 15 minutes, and after asking a few adults for directions, I finally reached the bookstore. Relief washed over me. The village was huge and far too easy to get lost in. Inside, rows of shelves lined with scrolls and books filled the air with the scent of paper. Behind the counter stood a human who greeted me politely. I returned the gesture. I scanned the shelves, remembering how frustrating they could be to search through, and decided to just ask for help. "Do you have something that shows this village in detail?" "You mean a map?" the human asked. Ah, so that was the word. Yes, he handed me a folded sheet of paper, which I accepted gratefully. But I wasn't done yet. I browsed further, eventually finding a book about human anatomy, perfect for understanding their bodies and how to tell males and females apart. Another on chakra caught my interest too, so I added it to my pile. As for the Kyuubi, none of the history books offered much. Either they barely mentioned it or claimed the fourth Hokage had slain it. So, still no real answers. Perhaps the wrinkly human would know, though asking him might not be wise. If the fourth truly had killed the Kyuubi, questioning him about it would raise suspicion. He'd ask why I cared, and my only truthful answer would be, because the Kyuubi can't die. Then he'd want to know how I knew that, and saying, "We come from the same place," would only make me look dangerous. If the Kyuubi had attacked this village once, he might think I'd do the same. Better to stay quiet for now. Asking that wrinkly human could very well get me killed, especially if they actually knew how to take down the tailed beasts. Even though the fourth Hokage hadn't destroyed the Kyuubi himself, something had clearly happened to him. Whatever it was, I had no desire to face the same fate. While my mind spun with these thoughts, I bought the books from the seller. Handling the money was a bit tricky, but the numbers on the bills made it manageable. I just had to sum them up and make sure the total matched what the seller asked for. Stepping out of the bookstore, I realized I'd have to walk back to Naruto's apartment. Carrying these books in my phoenix form wasn't an option. My talons would tear them to shreds. I decided to consult the map. Opening it, I saw countless lines, but there was also a legend box explaining that the lines represented roads. I read through the guide on how to interpret the map. It wasn't exactly simple. Actually, it was quite complicated. Still, after about an hour of careful study, I figured it out. With the knowledge, I could pinpoint Naruto's apartment since I remembered the street in front of it. The map was genuinely useful. Folding it up, somewhat clumsily, I set off in the direction it indicated. A few humans were on the street, but they all seemed preoccupied. Soon enough, I arrived at Naruto's apartment. Success. The map worked. I'd need more practice with it to get familiar with the village, but this was a start. Up at the top of the map, I noticed the village's name, Konohagakure. I hadn't known that before. I probably should have asked sooner, but oh well. Inside, Naruto was practicing a jutsu from the academy called Clone Jutsu. It was meant to create intangible copies of the user. He was having trouble, though. Every attempt produced only a lifeless-looking clone, which clearly wasn't right. Naruto, it's not coming out right. His expression was unusual. Disappointment. I had gotten good at reading Naruto's emotions, and yes, that was definitely disappointment. "I'm sure you'll get it with practice," I said. Still, his clones were unique. Everyone struggled initially, sure, but Naruto's attempts were far beyond ordinary. "I've been practicing," he protested. "Maybe I could try. Seeing your jutsu might help me figure out what's wrong." "Okay, sure." I followed the academy's instructions closely and attempted it myself. But my clone was dead-looking too. In fact, it seemed outright lifeless. I felt my own frustration mounting. "Never mind, I can't do it either." So neither of us could. Perhaps others in the class were failing the same way, though when someone succeeded, their clones didn't appear dead. Naruto looked disappointed, but I wasn't overly surprised. Maybe the chakra book had some answers. I could try again. Each attempt failed, my clones still looked lifeless, as did Naruto's. Why? I would need to figure that out. Speaking of Naruto, how old was he? He hadn't told me his birthday. Human birthdays seemed significant since their lives were so short. Naruto, you're 7, right? When will you turn 8? October 10th, October 10th. That coincided with the Kyuubi incident, the day the fourth Hokage supposedly stopped it. Strange coincidence. And yours? He asked. I converted from Makai's calendar. June 16th, though it might shift over the next 400 years when I die and come back. Wow, your birthday can change, Naruto exclaimed. Yes, yours won't, but mine can. How? Read about phoenixes, I suggested. Maybe now he'd be curious enough to learn more. Time passed at the academy and soon, October approached. Human birthdays seemed important, so I wanted to get him something. A jutsu scroll might work. I had read the books on humans and chakra, and now I could distinguish male from female, mostly. The chakra book offered exercises too, though nothing explained why our clones were lifeless. I could share that with Naruto later. Elemental affinities required special paper. Perhaps that could be a gift, or a book. Choosing gifts was tricky. Weapons were expensive but useful. He needed better ones. Deciding on weapons first, I told Naruto I had errands while he trained. Today was Taijutsu, so he could go without me. I shifted into human form and went to a weapons store I'd seen before. Hi, the seller greeted. I returned the greeting, noting the many weapons on display. Naruto needed kunai and shuriken, but swords and daggers seemed too dangerous for his age. He was only turning 8. Later birthdays would be better for those. Weapons wouldn't do. A book or a jutsu scroll would be better. I went to the bookstore. The seller greeted me, and I headed straight to the ninja scroll section. After looking through many, I found one suitable for Naruto. I also explored the fiction section. Here, I discovered The Legend of the Gutsy Ninja, a book featuring a protagonist named Naruto. It seemed promising, so I bought it for myself. With Naruto's scroll hidden for his birthday, I returned to his apartment. He wasn't back yet. I hid the scroll in an empty cabinet and began reading. The story was inspiring, the protagonist persistent, fighting against a curse. A perfect read for downtime. When Naruto arrived, he seemed happy to see me. What are you reading, Akarui? He asked, noticing the book in my hands. It's a book about someone named Naruto. Ring any bells? About me. He drew that conclusion quickly. No, the protagonist just shares your name. Funny thought, how could a book older than him be about him? Still, there were a few parallels. Maybe he'd want to give it a read. Want to read it? Maybe later. He wasn't fond of reading, which was kind of sad, really. I gave a nod, picked that up from Naruto, and added, you should read it sometime, it's not bad. The main guy reminds me of you. Really? Fine, I'll read it. At least he'd attempt it. Could Naruto actually finish a book? I handed him the volume. He began to read. That was nice. I had never before seen Naruto actually sit and read, and I'd been around him for quite some time. Eventually, I noticed it was mealtime. Naruto, it's time to eat. No reply, Naruto always dashed off when food was announced. He must be completely absorbed. I should get him his own copy. The following day was Naruto's birthday. I woke him by shouting ramen right into his ear, always worked. He sprang up and I wished him, happy birthday. I also gave him the scroll I'd taken from the cabinet. He was overjoyed. I think he even cried again. Tears of happiness. I was just relieved he liked the gift. Later, the wrinkled man showed up. He'd brought a present too, something to cover the eyes. Wrinkly man called them goggles. He'd also brought a round food, what they called a cake. When I tried to eat it in my phoenix form, my beak got stuck to the frosting. Getting it off was a hassle. After Wrinkly Man left, I changed back into my human shape. Much tidier. The cake tasted good, very sweet, but I enjoyed it. Naruto was ecstatic with all his presents. He said it was the best day of his life. If this was his best birthday, what had past birthdays been like? After the celebration, life continued. It had been over a year since I first met Naruto. One day Uruka announced, graduation exams are coming up. Anyone who thinks they can be a genin may take the test. Naruto never backed from a challenge. He jumped up, signed himself up, and proclaimed he'd pass. He wanted to be a ninja. The genin rank was the first step. I wasn't convinced he was ready. He'd only been in the academy a year. Usually students became genin around 12. Naruto wasn't there yet. Still, his resolve was strong. A few days after the announcement, he took the exam. As I'd suspected, he failed. Naruto was understandably crushed. "Why didn't I pass?" was the question he kept asking me. He took the loss hard. "Don't worry about failing. You've only been in the academy 1 year. 1 year. None of your classmates passed either. You're just not ready yet." "When will I be ready?" "When you're prepared to do what a ninja must do." "What do you want to do as a ninja?" "I want to be Hokage and make people acknowledge me. Then I can protect those close to me." He had very few he held dear, so I guess they mattered a lot to him. "Then you'll become a ninja when you're ready to protect them." Naruto always met his goals. He had too much drive to be stopped. This failure was only his first attempt. It wouldn't keep him down. "I will." "Yes, you will." He would. Naruto had determination enough to succeed. After the failed exam, he bounced back to his usual self, but I sensed a change. He played more pranks. I had to talk him out of some extreme ones. I figured he craved attention. Problem was, the attention he wanted and the attention his pranks earned were different. Still, he worked harder to improve. He studied the jutsu scroll I'd given him and practiced until he mastered the techniques. He did it through sheer effort. I was surprised. I chose the scroll thinking it suited his level. He should be able to learn it. He did. What stunned me was how fast he picked things up. The scroll suggested weeks per jutsu for an academy student. Naruto learned each jutsu in a week. Naruto was better than people realized. He failed the written tests at the academy and lacked a polished taijutsu style. He struggled with academy drills, but when it came to jutsu, he excelled. Yet he still couldn't perform the clone jutsu, neither could I had no explanation. Months passed like that, over half a year, and Naruto was still in the academy. Then one day, while I was flying over the village, I witnessed the slaughter of the Uchiha clan. I had been soaring above and suddenly noticed bodies strewn across the Uchiha district streets. I didn't know it was the Uchiha at first. That detail came later. Curious, I altered course and descended to the street full of corpses. Up close it was grisly. Many, perhaps all, were dead. Most looked like ninja. Whoever did this had to be extremely powerful if it was a person at all. Should I go report this to Wrinkly Man? The street and probably the houses nearby were blood-stained. This wasn't merely a crime, it was a massacre. While I hesitated, I heard footsteps and decided to hide. It might be the killer returning. It wasn't. A dark-haired child about Naruto's age appeared. By the clan crest on his back, he belonged to the same people I'd seen slaughtered. This child was doomed. I worried for him. I've always had a soft spot for children. I swooped down. "You child, get out of here," I spoke aloud, so hopefully he'd heed me. He seemed too stunned by the carnage to notice me. He just shook his head and ran into the street and toward a house. He was rushing straight into danger. "Wait, you stupid child." Was he trying to get himself killed? Could he not see the bodies? I followed. He reached a door and called for his parents. Someone inside shouted his name, Sasuke, not to go in. He opened the door anyway and stepped inside. What should I do? Revealing myself to a traumatized child was one thing. Exposing myself to a human who'd slaughtered many was another. I didn't know what the killer might be capable of. My survival instincts told me to stay away. I hesitated too long. I couldn't hear what happened indoors. The next moment, the boy burst back out and someone intercepted him by standing before him. For now, I watched. The child was alive, so perhaps the attacker didn't want him dead. I hid and listened. The murderer, it turned out, was the boy's older brother. He'd killed his own clan. They possessed a special eye technique I didn't understand. The elder mentioned the Mangekyou Sharingan. I had no clue what that meant. The killer spared his younger brother because, apparently, it was pointless to kill him. He wanted Sasuke to return to him when Sasuke possessed the same eyes. Whatever that meant, I couldn't grasp it. Then the child passed out. The killer left. I decided not to follow. What had happened? One person wiped out an entire clan but left his brother alive. The child's psyche would be shattered. Speaking of him, I wondered if he'd remember me shouting at him. This night would be seared into his memory. I had better avoid being spotted by him again. I thought he might even have been in Naruto's class, though I wasn't certain. I needed to get help for him. I flew through Wrinkly Man's window and told him about the child and the massacre. He looked very worried. Whether it was for the slaughter, the child, or the fact I'd seen part of it, I couldn't tell. They took the child away to the place called the hospital, the place for the injured. I chose not to tell Naruto about any of this. Naruto didn't need to know. After that night, I couldn't make sense of humans anymore. They could slaughter their own kin. They were capable of entire massacres. Humans were nothing like I'd imagined. They were an unfathomable species. That night would stay with me for a very long time. It wasn't the first time I'd witnessed mass death, but seeing it coming from humans was something else. Yes, that night would be burned into my memory. After that traumatic evening, life simply continued, without most of the Uchiha clan. Naruto's classmates mentioned it now and then, but I don't think Naruto truly grasped what had happened. I never told him I had seen parts of it. He didn't need to know. It was better that way. Days slipped by. I learned more about humans while attending the academy with Naruto. I still couldn't name many things, but I was learning. Naruto's birthday came around again. And again. He was 10 now. I'd been in this world nearly 3 years. 3 years wasn't long to me, but it was a lot for Naruto. He'd changed. A lot. Unfortunately, maturity wasn't one of those changes. He pulled more pranks like the classroom and paint incident. Still, Naruto was a true friend. I knew I cared for him deeply. In those 3 years, I hadn't shown my true form to many humans only Naruto and the wrinkled man knew. I had a human guise, but I avoided using it when unnecessary. Shortly after Naruto's 10th birthday, Uruka informed us that the chance to take the graduation exams had come again. Naruto leapt at the opportunity. He was more prepared, certainly, but I worried. He still couldn't perform the clone jutsu. If the test required it, he would fail. He wouldn't take another failure well. He'd already failed once. Failing twice would be worse, so in the days before the exam Naruto wanted to train. I agreed to help, then he asked something odd. Akarui, could you help me with target practice? Target practice, if you'd like I can help. Why not? It would help Naruto. Yay. So you can be the target. If you want. Wait, me the target? No, I don't want that. Hold on, before you throw that shuriken I'm not going to be the target. Awa, but it'll be good practice. No, I refuse. If you do that, what should I threaten? I'll burn all your orange jumpsuits. Fine, I was only joking. He had better have been joking. I felt a little guilty then. I'll help you in my human form, I just won't be the target. Yay! I decided to go with him to the exam. A sort of moral support, I supposed. During the test, he failed the written part, but he did well on the weapons section. I had helped him practice, so that paid off. The problem remained the ninjutsu portion. He couldn't perform the clone jutsu. Even after 2 years of trying to find the cause, I still couldn't figure it out. Because of that, he failed a second time. Why did I fail again? He asked me. I had to answer. Maybe you're not quite ready to protect those dear to you. You'll pass when you're strong enough to protect them. So don't worry. But you will pass next time, I believe in you. I will pass next time, believe it, he believed. All I had to do was fix that blasted clone jutsu issue, and help him with the written exam too. To prepare, I spent time in the library. Depending on the librarian, Naruto sometimes struggled to get in. I still didn't understand why Naruto was despised in the village. That mystery remained. At the library, I checked out books on chakra and a book called a dictionary. A dictionary had definitions of words. It was astonishing. With it, I could learn names for everything. I needed a copy of my own. The only problem, I had no money. I'd spent it all on Naruto's last 2 birthday gifts. So for now, I'd rely on the library. I also needed a calligraphy set to practice writing in my human form. Writing in human form would be useful later. When I had more money, I'd get one. What jobs could I do? I should ask the wrinkled man. Flipping through the books, I found more chakra exercises. I already knew some, but others I had forgotten. I decided to tell Naruto, maybe they'd help. Back at the apartment, still in human form, I went to get a drink. The milk in the fridge was expired. Again, I refused to drink spoiled milk. Naruto seemed fine with it. Why was that? I decided to buy fresh milk. But what to do with the expired carton? Naruto always poured water into his plant pots. Milk's a liquid too. so pouring the old milk into a pot should be fine. Right. I dumped the nearly full carton into one of the pots. Was milk supposed to leak out the side? Oh well. I took some money from Naruto's Gamachan frog purse. I learned it was a purse and had been using it for groceries, not stealing. Then I went to buy milk. When I returned, Naruto was home and asked, "Akarui, why is milk leaking out of one of the pots?" "Oh, I milked it." He made a puzzled face I'd never seen before. "You don't milk plants." "You don't?" "Oh, sorry. But milk and water are both liquids." Naruto just shook his head. "I put the new milk in the fridge. By the way, I read about some chakra exercises. Want to try? They should help with chakra control, which helps with jutsu." "Really? Can I see?" Naruto was interested. "Good, in there." I pointed to the books. He began to read. He would be ready for the next graduation exam indeed. Naruto's 11th birthday approached, and I was, what's the term, broke. I had no money left. So before talking to the wrinkled man, I wandered the village to see if I could find work. The problem, I knew nothing about human jobs. One afternoon, after academy, I went out alone. I had offered to stay if Naruto wanted company, but he said he'd train on the clone jutsu. I walked the streets but found nothing, so I decided to speak with the wrinkled man. I shifted into my phoenix form out of human sight and flew through his window. He was at his desk doing paperwork, always paperwork. If I were him, I'd burn it all. "Akarui-san, what are you doing here?" "I need money." "Anything I can do, I spend it on Naruto's presents." "Well, not if you're a bird." "Oh, should I reveal my human form? What would he think?" "Better not tell him yet," he sighed. "All right, since I already support Naruto, I'll provide for you too. But I'll stop when Naruto graduates and can earn through missions." "Really? Thank you, wrinkled man." "Yes, don't get on the wrong side of a phoenix. I'll remember the favor." He sighed again. "And please stop calling me that." "Of course I can stop, wrinkled man." I just liked teasing him. He sighed again. He must be getting old. Poor human. Money solved, at least until Naruto graduated. I didn't much want to work for humans anyway. It felt demeaning. Not that all humans were terrible, but I had pride. I flew back to Naruto's apartment, expecting the money to be sent like Naruto's. His birthday came. He turned 11. The money arrived. I bought him a nice gift. His progress with the chakra wall climbing exercise was impressive. He could do it easily now. He'd completed it the day after I assigned it, so it had been some time since then. I gave him other exercises, he learned them too. When I tried one, I fell into the water. I hate water, never doing that again. A little water is fine, but fully plunging is different, so I skipped that exercise for myself. I wasn't training anyway, just learning it. Naruto had 1 year before the next genin exam. I hoped he'd pass. He should, if only not for that clone jutsu problem which still eluded me. The year flew by. I bought a calligraphy set with the money and practiced writing in my human form. It was awful. I couldn't control the brush. My writing looked like messy drawings. I burned the papers, not the brush. Hands are useful but odd and hard to master. By the time Naruto prepared for the test again, he was now 12. My human handwriting was mostly legible. My real form script remained far superior. I also got him a nice set of weapons and scrolls for his birthday, hoping it would help him pass. Before the test, Naruto trained for a while. Then he decided to pull another prank. He didn't tell me. I think he suspected I would stop him. He was definitely up to something. He'd bought paint. We had no use for it, so it had to be for one of his tricks. He still craved attention, apparently. This promised to be entertaining. I didn't mind his antics most of the time, but occasionally he took things too far. I had a feeling this would be one of those occasions. It was. He painted faces on the mountain that overlooks Konohagakure. Faces? Really. Those carvings were significant, weren't they? Wrinkly Human's face sat up there. Wrinkly Human was important, a Hokage and all that. Natural's humans began shouting at him to stop. Being the odd human he was, Naruto answered by boasting that he was doing an amazing job painting the mountain. I hovered beside him, trying to talk him out of it at first. Then I decided it didn't matter. Faces on a mountain didn't bother me. Besides, watching the grown-ups yell up at Naruto was entertaining, and it wasn't every day he floated in the air. Then Uruka Human showed up. Oh, that one had a booming voice. He yelled down at Naruto to get down. They finally brought Naruto down and tied him up. It wasn't the first time, but with the exam coming again, I hoped it would be his last. Uruka then told the class to perform the henge jutsu. Naruto was skilled at that. The thing was, he liked to transform into a scantily clad human female. That always produced the funniest reactions in the male students. I didn't really grasp why it affected them so strangely, but it made me chuckle. Naruto's classmates were furious, but he ignored them. I think he learned that from me. I hoped he hadn't. He couldn't go around ignoring people all the time. Uruka told him to transform into him, meaning Uruka. I knew Naruto wouldn't comply. He'd do the sexy jutsu. And true to form, he did. Uruka's reaction was priceless. He flew backward about 10 feet, blood spurting from his nose. Humans are odd, strange, but amusing. Once Uruka recovered, which took a while, he scolded Naruto. I told Naruto not to worry. At least he'd transformed. Just not into Uruka. After that, Naruto had to scrub the mountain clean while Uruka supervised. I tried to help, but whenever I tried to lift the cloth with my talons it tore. I gave up and settled for picking at Naruto's hair. His head was actually quite comfy, even if his hair was spiky. Uruka didn't spare me a glance. He'd grown used to my presence. Uruka told Naruto he couldn't leave until everything looked normal again. Naruto said he didn't care. I hopped back onto his shoulder. We can get ramen later. Naruto just nodded. He must be upset. Uruka hadn't heard me, of course. A little while later, Uruka must have felt guilty because he promised to take Naruto out for ramen. Just what I wanted. Would I be allowed to go? At least Uruka didn't dislike Naruto. He could be strict, but he didn't hate him. Naruto answered yes and then surprised me by asking, "Can I bring Akarui?" He remembered me. That was sweet. Akarui, Uruka didn't know who I was. Yeah, Akarui. He's my friend. I chirped and hopped onto Uruka's shoulder. It wasn't nearly as cozy as Naruto's, that vest was stiff. That's Akarui. I bounced on Uruka's shoulder and immediately regretted it. Those vests were hard. Oh, so that's the bird's name? I was insulted. I'm not just a bird. Yeah, it is, Naruto said, and I flew back to his shoulder. Much better. I didn't mind the orange jumpsuit. Orange was bright and nice, not as fine as gold, scarlet, or silver, but pleasant and comfortable. So Uruka kept his promise and took Naruto for ramen. As usual, I nibbled some noodles. Ramen was odd, but not terrible. I hadn't been listening closely to Uruka and Naruto until I heard Naruto say "fox demon." The Kyuubi, something I still didn't understand. I hadn't sensed the Kyuubi in almost 5 years. Where was it? I worried a bit. Not for the Kyuubi exactly, but for what might have happened to it. The same could happen to me. Because I was lost in thought, I missed the rest of their conversation. Still, some human contact was good for Naruto. He wasn't very popular with people. Tomorrow was Naruto's graduation exam to become a genin. This was his 3rd attempt. I hoped it would finally be his last. Today was the exam. I resolved to stay with him as always. Naruto dashed to the academy. When he arrived, Uruka announced that the graduation test would be clone jutsu. I still didn't understand that one. I'd studied chakra books until my head spun. Naruto couldn't perform the clone jutsu. Why always the clone jutsu? Ask him to use other jutsu and he'd do fine. But clone jutsu was the test. Naruto, with me on his shoulder, went into the next room. He tried the jutsu and it failed. Mizuki Human told Uruka they should pass him anyway. Uruka refused. Naruto had failed. He went to sit on the swing in front of the academy. I tried to comfort him, but picking at his hair didn't help. I didn't know what to say. The other kids' parents congratulated them. Naruto got nothing. Some of the grown-ups even said it was better that he hadn't passed. Who were they to decide that? They didn't know Naruto, had no right to judge whether he should pass. Humans, of course. I wanted to fly over and set their hair on fire, but then I saw Wrinkly Human in the crowd. Naruto left the swing. Mizuki followed him and began speaking with him. I listened. Mizuki was trying to explain Uruka. Then he told Naruto that he could pass if he stole a certain scroll from Wrinkly Human's house. Steal from the Hokage home to pass an exam? That was unheard of. But who was I to take away Naruto's hope? If there was a chance, he should take it. That night Naruto stole the scroll from Wrinkly Human using that sexy jutsu. I was with him. He ran into the forest and started reading. Naruto, it starts with something called the Shadow Clone Jutsu. If you learn it, you'll pass the test, right? That's right, I'll learn it. Believe it, Naruto practiced determinedly. After a while, Uruka arrived. He had chased Naruto because of the stolen scroll. Naruto told him that since he'd learned it, he could graduate. But before Naruto could demonstrate, Mizuki attacked. Mizuki wanted the scroll. He'd been using Naruto. How dare he? Uruka told Naruto not to give it, but Mizuki began to spin a tale about the fox demon from 12 years ago. The rule is that nobody is allowed to talk about the fact that you are the Kyuubi. What did Mizuki say? Naruto is the Kyuubi? What? Impossible. The Kyuubi was the nine-tailed fox. Naruto was clearly a human. He couldn't be the Kyuubi, so what was Mizuki talking about? Why was he saying that? I was baffled. Naruto, though, was stunned. What do you mean? He shouted. Did he really believe it? He did, which would explain why the villagers treated him so poorly. Mizuki then said, "It means you are the demon that attacked the village and killed Uruka's parents." No, Naruto didn't do that. The Kyuubi might have, but Naruto? No. My mind was made up. Naruto was not the Kyuubi. I had no idea what had happened to the fox, but Naruto wasn't it. It was obvious to me, yet no one else seemed convinced. I planned to speak to Wrinkly Human about this. Naruto, I think I managed to break through his dazed state. You're not the Kyuubi. I've been with you almost 5 years. You're certainly not the Kyuubi. That was certain. I'm not, he still looked stunned. But what he said. Do you think you are the Kyuubi? You've never acted like one. You aren't a demon. You're Naruto. Who else could you be? He just stared, confused. Come on, use the brain I'm sure you've got somewhere, Naruto. He needed to understand. Mizuki, whom I decided I hated, kept talking. You were sealed by the Hokage you admired, and everyone has lied to you. Everyone hates you. Uruka too. Nobody will ever love you. Mizuki seethed with bitterness, but he hadn't heard me speak up. Naruto still had a chance. At those words, I fluffed myself and bristled in anger. Nobody saw Naruto for who he was, those stupid humans. Naruto, I care. Wrinkly Human cares. And if Uruka hated you, he wouldn't have bought you ramen. There are people who love you, remember that? Mizuki kept talking while I shouted, but Naruto was listening to me. Then I saw the large shuriken Mizuki had thrown at us, spinning toward us. Naruto, the shuriken. If he couldn't dodge in time, then I'd have to act. Then Uruka Human appeared, just in time to snatch the shuriken aimed at Naruto. It grazed his back instead. Naruto froze, stunned. I was taken aback too. Uruka Human truly was remarkable. He genuinely cared. Why? Naruto asked. Seriously, he really needed to ask that. Uruka Human explained patiently. He knew Naruto's feelings, he understood him. You're not the demon fox. You're one of us, a Konoha shinobi. You're Uzumaki Naruto. When Uruka Human said that, did he realize the impact his words would have? Naruto desperately needed to hear that. He needed someone to see him, to care. I drifted close to Naruto's ear. See, Uruka Human cares. I care too. Now, why not show Mizuki Human your new abilities as thanks to Uruka Human? Naruto's eyes hardened with resolve. My words had hit home. Yeah, I'll do it. He jumped to his feet and faced Mizuki Human. If you lay a finger on Uruka-sensei, I'll kill you. As if you could even touch me. Poor Mizuki Human had no clue what he'd gotten himself into. Naruto formed the hand seal he had been practicing. Shadow Clone Jutsu. In an instant, hundreds of Narutos sprang into existence. Hundreds, and they were fully solid, each capable of causing real damage. Poor Mizuki Human doesn't stand a chance, I thought. Then Naruto spoke again. Thought you said I couldn't touch you? Well, let's begin. The clones surged at Mizuki Human. This was exactly what Naruto had trained for. He could barely manage regular clone jutsu, but shadow clones were far more powerful. Physical clones could actually fight. I didn't need to intervene. He didn't need me at all. Naruto was handling this perfectly. Still just for fun, I swooped toward Mizuki Human, who was already in bad shape. I landed by his head, and since he had been thoroughly defeated by Naruto, I decided to add a little flair. I set his hair on fire. It was entertaining, and Mizuki Human deserved it. His hair became a fiery spectacle, glowing with bright colors. Naruto dispersed his clones. Uruka Human looked down at the beaten, and now partially bald, slightly singed, Mizuki Human. I think he felt proud, though he might have been wondering why Mizuki Human's hair had vanished and why he smelled of smoke. I settled back on Naruto's shoulder. I think you may have gone too far, I murmured, careful not to attract Uruka Human's attention. Hey, Akarui, you set his hair on fire. Well, yes, I did, I chirped in innocent satisfaction. Uruka Human spoke. Naruto, come here, I have something for you. He asked Naruto to close his eyes. Now open them. The ninja headband was around Naruto's forehead. He was officially a ninja. I knew he would make it. Congratulations on graduating. Let's celebrate ramens on me, Uruka Human said. Naruto beamed. He finally had his recognition. I would congratulate him too. Naruto leapt toward Uruka Human, normally harmless except I was perched on Naruto's shoulder. I got squashed in the process. My poor feathers. Naruto. Get off me, I screeched. I decided it was fine for Uruka Human to know I could talk. I liked him and wanted to thank him. Oh, sorry, Akarui. Naruto quickly hopped off. I puffed up indignantly. Stupid little human, though he'd grown since before. Naruto, your bird talks? Uruka Human asked, astonished. I'm not just a bird, I have a name, and congratulations on passing. I told you you were ready, I told Naruto. Thanks, Akarui, and yeah, I'm ready, believe it. Naruto paused. But why did you reveal yourself to Uruka-sensei? And thank you, Uruka Human, for believing in Naruto. Nice to see some humans redeem themselves. They balance out the bad ones. I glanced at Naruto. That's why I wanted to meet him. Then back to Uruka Human. Also, don't tell anyone about me. Your Hokage already knows. Uruka Human just nodded, still in shock. Now you mentioned ramen, I'll join as well. The next day was Naruto's registration. I accompanied him. He wanted a ridiculous pose for the photo, but I refused. In the end, he settled on an acceptable one. After the picture, I flew home. Today, I wanted to speak with the wrinkly human about something important, concerning a small human and a demon fox. I waited until Naruto wasn't around, then flew into the Hokage Tower through a window. Wrinkly human was buried in paperwork. Akarui-san. What is it? You need to explain something about Naruto and the demon fox. Wrinkly human sighed. You heard from Mizuki. Yes, now explain. Why do you care? It's Naruto. I'm attached to him. And you want to know what? Why did Mizuki Human call Naruto the Kyuubi? He explained. The day Naruto was born, the Kyuubi attacked Konoha. The fourth Hokage didn't kill it but sealed it inside Naruto. I was not allowed to tell other humans. Adults knew, children did not. Naruto was just Naruto, not the fox. I felt relieved. I liked Naruto exactly as he was. If no other tailed beasts were sensed, they were probably sealed too. Humans had ways to contain them. They were more dangerous than they seemed. Still staying with Naruto was fine by me. Tomorrow, Naruto would get his Genin team assignment. That should be entertaining. He'd be with other children trained as killers, ninja humans. Before he awoke, I flew to the Hokage Tower. Akarui-san needs something. I want to help Naruto on his team. Wrinkly human hesitated. How? Assist him in battle. There's a student with a talking nindog. I can act similarly. You want to talk to others too? Yes. That would be my excuse. Is that okay? Yes, but remember no harming the village. I remember Naruto wouldn't attack his village. Wait, you'll need this. He handed me a ninja headband. I hesitated. Taking it meant loyalty to Konoha, but I was loyal to Naruto. I accepted it, planning to let him wear it later. Thank you, wrinkly human. I left, carrying it carefully. Back at the apartment, Naruto slept on. Time to wake him and deal with the headband. In larger form, I could manage it, and I'd still fit on his shoulder. After breakfast, Naruto replaced his goggles with the headband. He was running a bit late, but ready for the day. You do realize if you don't leave now, you'll be late, I warned. Ah, he bolted out the door, without me, of course. I had to swoop over and land on his shoulder to keep up. By the time he arrived at the academy, a few other humans were curious about what he was doing there. Clearly, he had already graduated, but apparently they hadn't considered that. Then a human with a peculiar outfit entered. She was one of Naruto's classmates with bright pink hair. Odd, very odd. This was the girl Naruto liked. Sakura Human. He seemed to think of her as a possible mate, but she didn't see him that way. She was also pretty violent. I had noticed a pattern with human females. From what I'd observed, human females were often aggressive. Sometimes when I wandered around town in human form, a few would follow me, stalking, they called it. Occasionally, I'd see them beat up other humans, shouting things like, "That's for getting in my way." I never understood what the "in their way" part meant. Maybe human males were attracted to violent females. It was baffling. Sakura Human was heading straight for Naruto. By this point, I had perched on his head to get a better view, hiding behind his hair but still seeing everything. "Naruto, move, I want to sit next to Sasuke," she yelled. Sasuke, the child I'd encountered during the Uchiha massacre, as it came to be called. I wasn't sure he remembered me, so I avoided him. This was the human Sakura Human fancied. Poor Naruto, or maybe Lucky, she had a violent streak. Naruto didn't seem to like Sasuke. According to him, he was arrogant. He actually used harsher words, but that was the gist. While I was pondering this, Naruto moved towards Sasuke Human, perching on the desk right in front of him. A bit too close, he was going to topple over. As expected, he fell. Someone behind him had bumped him. I was still on his head, thankfully. Naruto was less lucky. His lips collided with Sasuke Human's. I think that's an intimate action for humans. I hoped it was accidental. Luckily, it was. Both of them started gagging and spitting. It was hilarious. Then I sensed murderous intent from Sakura. Violence was imminent. As predicted, she swung at Naruto. Her mistake, aiming for his head where I sat. How dare she try to hit me? She didn't know I was there, but I didn't care. I bit her hand before it made contact. I didn't want to set Naruto's hair on fire again, already had once, by accident. She screamed as she pulled her hand back. "Naruto, what's in your hair?" "My hair," Naruto reached up. I leapt into his hand. "Oh, this is Akarui, you almost hit him. Sorry, Sakura-chan." He sounded embarrassed. "Akarui is sorry, right?" I turned away. Almost getting hit warranted zero apologies. Before Sakura Human could continue, Uruka Human entered. After a brief speech, he divided the children into teams. Team 7 is Haruno Sakura, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto jumped while Sakura slumped. And Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto sank, Sakura leapt. Humans were entertaining. Naruto complained, "Why do I, an exceptional shinobi, have to be with him?" My formal language rubbed off on him, though only when he was irritated. "Naruto. Of all the graduates, you ranked last?" Uruka Human scolded. Poor Naruto. Sasuke Human said, "Just don't get in my way." He was arrogant, as Naruto predicted. Sakura Human tried to attack again. I bit her again. She should learn by now. Naruto might be annoyed, but it was worth it. She wouldn't make a good mate for him anyway. He'd be dead too soon if she did. After team assignments, it was lunch. I flew back to the apartment to fetch my headband and show Naruto. Voices came from inside. One was Wrinkly Human's. I slipped through the open window. I landed before them, Wrinkly Human and a silver-haired human. Maybe I should nickname him Nah, too complicated. "Akarui-san," Wrinkly Human noticed. Impressive observation. I glanced at the silver-haired human, lazy-looking human. No, better stick with names. Wrinkly Human continued, "This is Hadake Kakashi. He'll be the Jounin instructor for Naruto and his team." Kakashi Human looked confused. "Hokage-sama, why are you talking to a bird?" Wrinkly Human looked at me. "Akarui-san, aren't you going to say something?" "Why not? Kakashi would find out soon anyway." Wrinkly Human, Kakashi Human, what are you doing in Naruto's apartment? Explain." Kakashi Human blinked. Wrinkly Human chuckled. "Akarui-san is Naruto's nin bird." Kakashi nodded. His mask hid one eye, the other gave a lazy yet unreadable impression. "I don't belong to Naruto." "And again, what are you doing here?" I was curious to see their response. Wrinkly Human replied, "Just checking up on Naruto and his apartment." Kakashi Human added, "This milk went bad a few days ago." Again. "He threw away the new milk too." I ranted silently. Stupid human. "So you'll be Naruto's new teacher?" I asked. He nodded, muttering, "This will be troublesome." I felt a bit sorry for him. Dealing with Naruto, an arrogant, traumatized child, and a violent, love-struck human female. Poor Kakashi. "I feel for you. They'll be difficult. Teach Naruto well or I'll light your hair on fire." "And that's just the start," I said cheerfully. He stared blankly. That teardrop on his head. Humans were strange. With these humans around, boredom wouldn't be an issue. Naruto's new instructor should be interesting to watch. After meeting Wrinkly and Kakashi Humans, I grabbed my ninja headband in my claws and flew back to the academy. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke Humans were in the classroom. I now the size of a hawk. waited outside the window. I'd enter once the others left or when Kakashi arrived. Soon, only the three remained. I circled, found the door, flew in, and navigated to the class. Landing on a front row desk, Naruto brightened, Sakura Human looked surprised, and Sasuke Human narrowed his eyes. They didn't know me yet. Akarui, you're here, Naruto cheered. What are you holding? I lifted the headband. Would he understand? Why do you have that? He guessed wrong. Is that yours? Bingo. I chirped and held it in my beak, hoping he'd tie it around my neck safely. Naruto got it. Our time together had made him understand my gestures. Sakura and Sasuke would be surprised later, maybe not Sasuke. Naruto tied the headband around my neck. Sakura asked, Naruto, what is that? It's Akarui. You have two birds named Akarui. Nope, Naruto cheerfully replied. Sakura looked confused, Sasuke stayed silent. Kakashi was late. Impatient, Naruto wedged the chalkboard eraser between the doors to play a prank. Dust would greet the next opener. I didn't stop him. Pranks could sharpen intelligence. The other two said something, but I ignored them. Then a hand reached out and swung the door open. Kakashi Human ended up with a tuft of dust in his hair. Poor guy. By now, I genuinely felt bad for him. Naruto was practically rolling with laughter, shouting, "Ha ha ha, you totally fell for it." I swear, he looked like he might topple over from laughing so hard. Sakura Human quickly started apologizing for Naruto, while Sasuke Human stayed silent, expressionless as ever. My first impression is that I don't like you lot, said Kakashi Human. Come to the roof. The human vanished. I swooped down and landed on Naruto's shoulder as he and his new team climbed the stairs. Note to self, get some padding for Naruto's shoulder. At my current size, I was probably leaving scratches everywhere. Not that he'd complained yet. We reached the roof. All right, let's introduce ourselves, Kakashi Human announced. We'll go over likes, dislikes, future goals, that sort of thing. Why don't you start? Naruto chimed in. Kakashi Human went first. Honestly, I wasn't paying attention, I already knew him. Then Naruto spoke. Again, familiar to me, so I tuned out. Sasuke Human's turn. Apparently he had some murderous intentions, probably toward his brother. And Sakura Human, I learned nothing new except that she clearly didn't like Naruto. My turn, time for reactions. I am Akarui. I enjoy learning about many things. I dislike, well, things, my dreams, I'm already living them. Hobbies, see my likes. I am a ninbird, I suppose. No need to reveal dislikes. Humans or even Naruto might use them against me. Sakura Human gaped, astonished. Sasuke Human's eyes widened briefly, then narrowed. Perhaps recognition flickered. Kakashi Human showed nothing, he already knew. Naruto looked surprised that I had finally spoken. Naruto, your bird can talk, exclaimed Sakura Human. Glad you noticed. Chen, Sasuke Human's reaction was utterly dull. What, a ninbird? Naruto asked. Yes, Naruto, I spoke with the wrinkly human about it. I'll be working with you. Why else do you think I had you put on the headband? That's all there is to it. Kakashi Human finally added, now that introductions are done, tomorrow we begin our duties as shinobi. Duties. What kind? Naruto asked eagerly. Survival training, Kakashi Human replied. Survival training? I had no clue what that entailed. I was still pondering when Kakashi Human said something shocking. Only 9 graduates would become genin. What? Then what was the point of the graduation exam? Kakashi Human, what was the graduation exam for then? Yeah, I put so much effort into it, Naruto exclaimed. That was just to see who might have the potential to become genin, came the reply. I wanted to scream. Naruto and I had spent years perfecting the clone jutsu, and for what? Kakashi Human's hair would look great on fire. Anyway, come to the training ground tomorrow, skip breakfast, and don't be late. That night, Naruto trained while I schemed about setting Kakashi Human's silver hair ablaze. So many wasted years. Tomorrow, though, Naruto would succeed. I would see to it. At the training ground, Sasuke Human and Sakura Human were already waiting. Kakashi Human hadn't arrived yet. I perched comfortably on Naruto's shoulder, now padded against my talons. I insisted on breakfast despite orders. Humans are strange. Naruto got hungry watching me, so he ate too. Sasuke and Sakura had clearly skipped theirs, judging by the grumbles from their stomachs. Eventually, Kakashi Human arrived and explained the survival exercise. Grab a bell. Fail, and you go back to the academy. So it was an elimination test. Teams, did they expect these kids to team up to defeat a Jounin? Unrealistic. I watched Naruto to see if he grasped the point. He didn't. Before I knew it, Naruto had pulled a kunai, and Kakashi Human was right behind him, holding his hand. Naruto had attempted an attack first. Then Kakashi Human said something, and the exercise officially began. Naruto, hide for now. He complied. I eyed the Jounin. Do you think, as a genin, you can take him on? Use your brain, not confidence. He hesitated. Then what are we supposed to do? Figure it out. There's only two of us, I hinted. Wait, Sakura-chan and that guy, he caught on. Go deal with being split up, I said. Naruto ran to Sakura Human after I pointed her out. Be quiet. Kakashi-sensei will hear you, she warned. Sorry, but I think I've got a plan, Naruto said. She dashed off to find Sasuke Human. Maybe teamwork won't work. Sasuke Human probably won't cooperate, I told Naruto. We'll just have to improvise. We located Sasuke Human, then heard a distant scream, Sakura-chan. Naruto dashed toward it. Soon, we found Sasuke Human's head poking out of a clearing. Nothing matters, he said, leaving to pursue the bell alone. Fine, we do it ourselves, I said. We approached Kakashi Human. Naruto launched a surprise attack. My training with him paid off. He struck where he saw an opening. I flew off his shoulder, ready to assist. Kakashi Human dodged skillfully. I spat a massive fireball from above, catching him off guard. Naruto activated Shadow Clone Jutsu. The clones surrounded Kakashi Human. He dispelled them easily. He was a Jounin, after all. Before we could react further, the bell rang noon. Later, the team regrouped. Sakura Human was tied to a stump for her inactivity. Kakashi Human faced us. No need to return to the academy. You mean? Naruto asked. You should all quit being ninjas, Kakashi Human finished. Naruto's anger flared. Quit? Why? We didn't get the bells, but that doesn't mean we should quit. Because none of you earned the title, Kakashi Human explained. Sasuke Human tried to attack and failed. Teams exist for a reason. You failed the test. Naruto realized the test's point: teamwork. Sakura worried about Sasuke. Sasuke wanted to act alone. Together, they could have succeeded. Kakashi Human continued, noting there were fewer bells than team members, deliberately discouraging them. He also gave a demonstration involving a memorial stone for his best friend, still tied to the past, it seemed. Then he said, I'll give you one last chance. But after lunch, the challenge will be even tougher. If you want to continue, you may eat, but don't share any food with Sakura. If you do, you'll fail instantly. After saying that, he left. From where I sat on the nearby log, I glanced at Sakura Human. She definitely looked hungry. I'm fine, I'm not hungry. Her words were quickly betrayed by the sound of her stomach rumbling. Here, Sasuke Human said, offering some food. Interesting. If you don't eat, you'll just slow us down. Sasuke-kun, not wanting to be left behind, Naruto offered his portion as well. Did he forget that I needed food too? But then he turned toward me. You can have some too, Akarui. Oh, that was kind of him. Moments later, a cloud of dust approached. As expected, Kakashi Human had been watching the entire time. I knew it. He wanted to see if we could function as a team, one that supports its own members. He appeared suddenly, startling Naruto and the others. You pass. When they asked why, his only reply was, those who don't care for their comrades are worse than trash. What a peculiar mindset. Did that apply even if one disliked their comrades? Why care for someone you have no fondness for? Humans are truly confusing. Where I came from, such a thing would never happen. Starting tomorrow, you'll officially begin your duties as Team 7, Kakashi Human said, giving a thumbs up. A gesture of victory. What was that supposed to mean? Naruto erupted with excitement. I did it! I did it! I'm a ninja now! He was so loud that I almost wished I had hands to block my ears. Still, I was genuinely happy for him. Quiet down, Naruto, you're too loud, I told him, and he immediately toned it down. Kakashi Human dismissed them, leaving Sakura still tied to the post. Poor Human. I burned away the ropes to free her. So much for that care for comrades speech. But maybe, I had a little of that in me too. The days that followed were filled with missions, tedious, repetitive ones. This was already the third time we had to catch the same cat. After calculating how far the cat had run, I simply swooped down, grabbed it with my talons, and dropped it on Naruto. This was dragging on too long. Hey, Akarui, Naruto shouted while struggling with the feline and losing. To a cat. I foresaw many scratches in his future, though they'd probably heal fast. When we returned the creature to its owner, the human hugged it so tightly it almost suffocated. No wonder the genin teams always had to catch it again. Weeks passed, gardening, babysitting, finding lost pets, countless dull chores. I rarely participated for obvious reasons. No hands. The missions were paid, even for me, but the boredom was unbearable. Me, a mighty being, reduced to chasing someone's pet cat. Frustrating didn't even begin to cover it. Naruto felt the same. At the mission desk, the wrinkly human spoke. Team 7, your next job is to babysit an elder's grandson, do some shopping, and help with potato digging. Another useless task. I flew up to his desk. That was it. If I had to endure one more meaningless assignment, promise or not, I might just set something important ablaze. Before Naruto could yell, I spoke first. Wrinkly human, I said in a deceptively sweet tone. If you assign me one more trivial task, I'll make sure you never have a single moment free from paperwork again. My promise didn't include tolerance for this kind of torture, did it? I whispered the last part, but not too sweetly. I was not in a good mood. The color drained from his face. Then Naruto exploded. I want a real mission. We've done enough of these boring ones already. Please, Oji-san. Uruka human, seated beside the old one, began a long lecture. I tuned it out. Naruto seemed to be daydreaming about dinner. As for me, I craved fish. Grilled fish would be perfect right now. Finally, the wrinkly one relented. All right, if you insist, I'll assign you a C-rank mission. You'll be guarding someone. Finally, who is it? Naruto blurted out. I was curious too. An older man entered, holding a bottle of something and looking unimpressed. They're all brats, he said, especially the short one with the dumb face. Naruto might have had a foolish expression, but he wasn't actually foolish, thanks to my training mostly. Hey, I'm not stupid. That's why I won't kill you even though I want to. That ruined the mission. His words were formal, but his tone dripped with irritation. Kakashi human subtly held him back. I'm Tazuna, a master bridge builder. I expect you all to protect me until my bridge is complete. Finally, an actual mission. I chirped with excitement. We had some time to prepare afterward. Naruto went off to get ready, and so did I. I wanted to work on my human form more. Oddly enough, humans had better close combat ability than my current form. I might need to rely on it. Though my true form was stronger, it lacked the size and maneuverability I once had. The dense forests here would make flying at full size impossible, not to mention the destruction my fire would cause. I also didn't want to be treated like the tailed beasts, hunted and sealed away. So hiding my true power was best. In my human form, I went to a weapon shop. Naruto had to remove my headband first, then I reattached it afterward. Apparently, it vanished if I transformed with it on. Inside, 2 humans stood there. A girl with buns in her hair and a boy in bright green spandex. The green spandex human saw me. Yash, such youthful energy training so early. We're all humans like this. I just stared. The girl beside him shook her head in embarrassment. Oh, I haven't introduced myself. I'm Rock Lee. I reluctantly replied. I'm Akarui. This one was unsettling. Those eyebrows, that hair, were human eyes supposed to be that round. How splendid to meet someone burning with the flames of youth, Akarui-san. It's nice to meet you too. Technically true, though I already regretted it. Are you here to buy weapons for a mission, Akarui-san? Yes, please go away. His eyes welled with tears. Such youthful determination. If only he knew I was centuries older than his entire family line. I'm here with my teammate Tenten. How nice, I said flatly. What else could I say? Then another green spandex human entered, identical to the first. There were 2 of them. Spirits help me. Lee, my most youthful student, who's your new friend? The older one radiated enthusiasm. This is Akarui-san. He shines brightly with the flames of youth, Lee declared proudly. Great, now the other one knew my name. How unyouthful of me. I forgot to introduce myself. I am Mado Guy, Konoha's green beast of youth. He grinned and struck a pose so bright it nearly blinded me. I blinked repeatedly until my vision returned. Nice to meet you. No, it wasn't. These 2 were the strangest humans I'd ever seen. Akarui-san is being so youthful, Lee cried. What a youthful statement, Lee. Guy replied, tears streaming down his face. Now both were crying. Guy-sensei, Lee, Guy-sensei, Lee. Then they hugged dramatically in the middle of the store, sobbing loudly. Ridiculous. Someone save me. These had to be the weirdest humans alive. So I ran. Out of the shop, through the street, into an alley, back into my real form. I didn't even buy any weapons. That was terrifying. Who knew pretending to be human was this dangerous? I eventually bought weapons somewhere safer, on the far side of the village. When I got back, Naruto was already packed and ready. So was I discovered that anything I carried in one form vanished when I transformed and reappeared when I changed back. To keep something through transformation, I had to remove it beforehand. So I returned to my phoenix form, weapons secured in pouches that vanished along with my human body. My headband stayed visible, though I had Naruto tie it back on. Human hands really were useful. Tomorrow would mark our first mission outside the village and our first C rank. Things were about to get interesting. Tomorrow was the day of the mission. Just as I had expected, the day arrived faster than I imagined. It was finally the mission day. Team 7 gathered at Konoha's main gates. Surprisingly, Kakashi Human wasn't late this time. Naruto was bursting with excitement. He dashed around energetically. He even tried to leap off my shoulder at one point, which made me angry, so he settled for running in circles instead. He was eager to get moving. Let's go, a conversation started, but I quickly lost interest. The bridge builder's words didn't capture my attention. Naruto, however, got heated over something about respect and the Hokage. It didn't concern me much. He could argue his point without my input. While Naruto and the bridge builder bickered, the humans continued walking. Before long, we were far from the village. During the walk, I noticed some humans perched in a tree above us. Actually, there were two. They were following from behind. Kakashi Human likely saw them too. I chose to stay silent. They were probably hostile, but perhaps they weren't targeting us. Besides, it was a ninja's role to handle threats, and this was the team's first mission outside the village. We continued forward. After a long discussion I wasn't paying attention to, I spotted a puddle. A puddle? Had it rained recently? I was almost certain it hadn't. I hated rain. This had to be artificial, a trap. Kakashi Human noticed it too, so who was the trap for? Us. To find out, we had to keep moving. If it wasn't meant for us, it wouldn't trigger, and striking it would be pointless. We passed the puddle without incident. Not for us then, but just beyond it, the trap activated. It was meant for us. Kakashi Human was the first target. Though he wouldn't fall easily, I noticed the logs, a body replacement jutsu. He'd be fine, but he hadn't returned to assist yet. The enemy ninjas moved toward Naruto. Before he could react, Sasuke Human pinned their chains to a tree and struck them, but it barely slowed them down. "Naruto, move!" I yelled. Naruto finally snapped out of it. One enemy lunged at him, and he blocked with a kunai. I added a stream of fire, careful not to hit him. The fire struck perfectly. The ninja had no chance to evade it and was scorched. Naruto seized the moment, landing a solid punch to the enemy's face, sending him staggering. But the ninja hadn't been aiming at Naruto. Their real target was behind him, the bridge builder. Kakashi Human reappeared, swiftly taking out the two attackers. Fast or slow, depending on perspective, he had taken a moment to intervene. I turned to Naruto. "Next time, don't freeze. It could cost you," he nodded, still shaken from the encounter. Kakashi Human addressed the team. "Good job, Sasuke and Naruto." Then he turned to Tazuna. "We need to talk." Ah yes, Tazuna Human had been hiding something. According to mission protocol, enemy ninjas shouldn't have appeared, but they had. "Bridge builder, I think it's time to clear some things up," I said, revealing myself. He looked startled naturally. The two captured enemies interrupted, though still tied up. Kakashi Human calmly explained how he knew they were there and why he had temporarily left the team. "Our mission is to protect you from bandits, not trained ninja. This is at least a B-rank threat," he added, his expression bored. Sakura Human protested. "We're not ready, let's quit." Maybe we should," Kakashi Human mused. "No, we already accepted. We can't back out now," Naruto declared. Tazuna convinced Kakashi Human to continue. Apparently, some Gato Human controlled their country economically, and building the bridge would disrupt him. Were these really supposed to be ninjas? We pressed forward. Soon we were on a boat, gazing at the bridge. Impressive, though unnecessary for me. Humans needed it, bound to the land as they were. Naruto opened his mouth, likely to comment. Quiet, Naruto. Can't you see silence is needed? I snapped. Oh, sorry, he said sheepishly. I sighed. We disembarked and continued walking. Naruto ran ahead while I perched on his shoulder. A rustle in the bushes caught my attention. Naruto noticed too and threw a shuriken, hitting a rabbit. I considered it edible. Sakura scolded him. Naruto apologized to the rabbit. Odd, apologize to food? Keep hugging it, it would die eventually anyway. Then Kakashi Human shouted, Everyone, get down! Everyone obeyed immediately. I flew up to avoid being smashed into the ground by Naruto's impact. I saw a spinning blade that could have cut them in half. They regained their footing. Kakashi Human's instructions kept Naruto from rushing in recklessly. He whispered, I know, but… Kakashi then lifted his headband, revealing a red eye with 3 black markings, the Sharingan. The Uchiha clan's legendary doujutsu, so Kakashi Human possessed it. Fascinating. Sasuke Human explained more. Zabuza Human knew too. The Sharingan could read and counter all forms of ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu. Incredible. Zabuza disappeared, then reappeared atop the water using chakra. Hidden mist jutsu, he declared. The enemy's silent killing style became clear. Kakashi Human reassured the humans, don't worry. I won't let my comrades die. Respectable, but if he died, his protection would vanish. The enemy and Kakashi appeared among us as expected. Kakashi struck, but it was a clone. Naruto yelled about an attack from behind, but again, clone. The real Zabuza appeared behind Kakashi, and after a brief clash, sent him into the water, encasing him in a sphere. Now what? As the eldest and strongest, I might have to intervene. Troublesome humans. Zabuza spoke, a true ninja survives countless brushes with death. I thought of Naruto. I'd nearly destroyed his home several times, but probably not what Zabuza meant. Then the enemy water clone vanished. Where could it have gone? Ah, right in front. I casually shot a fireball toward the approaching clone and watched as it evaded it. Naruto, at this stage, hadn't trained enough to react at that speed. Note to self. Maybe lightly roast Kakashi Human's hair next time for not training Naruto properly. Clearly, I'd need to help Naruto boost his agility. HMPH, brats. That came from the real Zabuza Human. I took offense. Did I look like a brat to him? Then Kakashi Human ordered us to retreat. He could speak inside the water sphere. Strange, but that wasn't the main concern. What should I do? Follow orders. I was probably stronger than Zabuza Human, but Naruto and his team definitely weren't. In the end, I didn't need to decide. Naruto refused to leave his sensei, but the clone still had to be dealt with. We needed to destroy it. Meanwhile, the real Zabuza held Kakashi Human trapped in the water sphere. I'd have to back them up. Clearly, the enemy was outmatched. Maybe we could free Kakashi Human. Akarui, Sasuke, and Sakura, listen, I have a plan. Naruto had a plan. Fine, let's hear it. Kakashi Human tried to intervene, mentioning the bridge builder. I looked at him. The bridge builder gave a nod. We were to proceed. Then Zabuza bragged about his graduation exams. Humans never ceased to surprise me, so different from one another. Then the Zabuza Human attacked. No time for Naruto to explain the plan. Fantastic. Naruto did notice the strike, though, probably because it wasn't aimed at him but at Sasuke Human. As Sasuke Human flew backward, Naruto substituted him with me. I had anticipated that. Clever human. One part of our plan involved swapping me in to take the hit. My reflexes were sharp. I could recover faster than a human. As the targets shifted, the clone kept attacking. I had to eliminate it. I set my feathers ablaze. Anyone who touched me would burn, and that included the clone. As it approached, it evaporated. Of course, it was a water clone, destroyed. While I handled that, Naruto prepared his own attack on the real Zabuza Human. He'd made more clones, all armed with kunai, scattering strategically. Kakashi Human reminded us that Zabuza Human couldn't move while maintaining the prison jutsu. He was vulnerable. Naruto, Sasuke Human, and Sakura Human now saw the opening. The water clone was gone. Multiple kunai flew at Zabuza Human from different directions. I suspected some were Naruto's clones in disguise, just in case a throw missed. Had Naruto orchestrated all this? No human could dodge that many attacks without releasing the water prison. Even Sasuke human and Sakura human noticed the plan. They threw their own kunai to cover any gaps. That had been their goal. They knew they couldn't defeat Zabuza outright, so they aimed to free Kakashi human by forcing him to dodge. Perhaps I should step back. These humans were growing more competent. Of course, I'd assist if necessary, but they were managing. Once Kakashi human was freed, the team needed to recover. After a brief exchange, the battle resumed. Why did ninjas always talk before fighting? Was it really needed? Both launched a series of hand signs. Both shouted, "Water Dragon Blast Jutsu," in perfect sync. Kakashi human mirrored the other's movements flawlessly. So that's what Sharingan could do. Impressive. For some reason, Zabuza human froze mid-jutsu. He didn't finish. Kakashi human completed it. A massive wave struck, sending Zabuza human crashing into a tree. How? Can you see the future? Kakashi human met his gaze. Yes, you're going to die. Then another human appeared on a nearby tree, throwing something sharp. Senbon needles struck Zabuza human in the neck. You're right, he's finished. The new masked human said, I've been waiting for the chance to take down Zabuza. Kakashi human recognized the mask. A hunter nin from Kirigakure. That's correct. I hunt rogue ninja from my village. Naruto looked unsettled. The hunter nin couldn't have been much older than him, yet they defeated someone Naruto hadn't even dreamed of matching. Naruto then said something surprising. Thanks for helping defeat Zabuza. Next time I'll handle all enemies, believe it. It seemed seeing someone his age succeed inspired him. Good. I had once told him to be grateful for help. It seemed he had listened, impressive. The hunter nin nodded, then vanished with Zabuza human's body. Farewell, I'll dispose of this properly. The battle ended. Tense mission, indeed. Now we had to reach the bridge builder's house. But Kakashi human collapsed. What happened? He had overexerted himself using the Sharingan. I looked at the team. Who's carrying him? We've got miles left. Humans argued. You do it, Naruto refused. I won't, Sasuke human declined. No way, Sakura human refused too. I'm the client, bridge builder spoke. And I'm a bird, I protested. Kakashi human gave a weary glance. Somebody just do it. Ultimately, I relented. They out-argued me. And I was a bird. Why me? Naruto pointed out I could grow larger. Too smart. I enlarged myself enough to carry Kakashi human. Larger than I'd been in years, not my true size, but enough. Kakashi human rode me to the bridge builder's home. Then Naruto wanted a ride too. No, I refused. Why not? It looks fun. Kakashi-sensei is getting one. He just wanted fun. He can't walk, you can. Fine, he seemed disappointed. I felt a little bad. Maybe later, silly human. Maybe that was why I liked him. At the house, we met the bridge builder's daughter and grandson, Tsunami human and Inari human. I placed Kakashi human on a mat bed. After a while, Naruto got an idea. Hey Sakura, Sasuke, Akarui. Let's see what's under Kakashi-sensei's mask. I was curious too. I'd never seen under the mask. Sakura and Sasuke were too. Sakura and Naruto approached Kakashi human, who was asleep. I decided to assist. After this mission, I intended to reveal my human form to wrinkly human. Phoenixes could take human shape, and this would surprise him. Perhaps he could guide me in controlling it. I wasn't ready to fight in this form yet. I told Naruto and Sakura to wait, then retreated to change into human form. I re-entered the room. Sakura was stunned. Who are you? Sasuke human was surprised too, though he hid it. His eyes widened, then narrowed. Naruto leapt up, shouting, Akarui. Don't wake Kakashi-sensei, I warned. We need to see under the mask first. Oh, sorry, Sakura Sasuke, this is Akarui, my human form. Sakura seemed flustered. Sasuke just grunted. Now shall we see under Kakashi human's mask? I asked. We crept closer. Just as we reached, Kakashi human shot up. Something's wrong. His gaze landed on me. Who are you? The bridge builder and daughter arrived too. I had no choice but to reveal myself. I am Akarui, of course. Belief was optional. Kakashi human studied me. Then Sasuke human spoke. Prove it. I turned to face him. He really wanted an answer. All right, if you insist. With a flurry of feathers, I shifted back and landed neatly on Naruto's shoulder. See. It's really me. Kakashi human simply stared, while Sasuke human seemed satisfied. What exactly are you? Kakashi finally asked, curiosity in his tone. Me, I'm a nin bird. Technically true. Not the whole truth, but close enough. He kept studying me, probably trying to figure out what I was. I wouldn't be surprised if he had already guessed. After a moment, his attention shifted to the others. Clearly, he had something else on his mind. Something's off here. Usually, hunter nins dispose of the bodies immediately after a kill. Immediately? That meant Zabuza human's body hadn't been dealt with properly. Maybe the hunter wasn't really a hunter. What? But Zabuza's body wasn't handled like that. At least Naruto noticed, which was promising. He was learning. The masked boy took the body. If he needed proof of his work, just the head would have sufficed. And the weapons he used, those were needles, right? Sasuke human noticed first. No way. Could someone explain this to me? I had no clue what was going on. Yeah, exactly. Kakashi human said nothing useful. The bridge builder spoke up. What are you all talking about? Finally, some explanation. Most likely, Zabuza is still alive. The expressions on Naruto's, Sakura's, and the bridge builder's faces were priceless. I was shocked too, though I tried to mask it. Zabuza human still alive. So the hunter nin had actually been on his side all along. All that effort for nothing. Fantastic. Pandemonium broke out. Naruto and Sakura were furious, demanding answers, especially after Kakashi had assured them Zabuza human was dead. I wanted clarification too. My knowledge of human anatomy was limited, but I was certain humans couldn't resurrect themselves like I could. Kakashi human explained. The needles could temporarily kill someone. Intriguing. And he said we needed to prepare. Speaking of preparation, Kakashi human, I need a word. Perfect timing. He wasn't exactly mobile. I landed in front of him and shifted into human form. Remember what I said when we first met? You're not meeting expectations, so I ignited the tips of my fingers. His hair would make a stunning bonfire, shiny and bright. He looked a little panicked. Ma, there's no need to rush. I was going to do it anyway. Really? Good. The flames vanished. But sensei, how will we train? You can barely move. Sakura human looked concerned. Don't worry, training is the answer. I wondered what exercises we'd do. Sensei. Training won't help. Our enemy is a ninja even you struggled against with the Sharingan. True, but gradual improvement beats doing nothing. Every ninja grows stronger with practice, not by standing idle. You all are progressing fast, especially Naruto. But this training is only until I regain full strength. Without me, you can't defeat him. Naruto beamed at the compliment. Not that he was terrible, just weak in certain jutsu and written tests. And Zabuza human, could he attack? Sakura asked on my behalf. Kakashi explained that recovery from temporary death took time. We had a window. Then a small human child interrupted. Inari, apparently. He hugged his grandfather, turned to his mother, and declared, Mom, they're all going to die. Pessimistic kid. Maybe he had reason to be. Naruto erupted. What do you mean? He was loud. Sakura yelled at him to stop, ironic as it was. Naruto, calm down, you don't need to yell at a child. Hopefully he'd listen. He did, though he continued passionately. I'm a superhero destined to become a legendary Hokage. I don't know Gato, but he's nothing compared to me. A superhero? Close enough. Ninjas weren't quite superheroes, but Naruto hadn't realized that. What are you, stupid? Heroes don't exist. If you want to survive, leave. Inari human left, harsh words and all. Heroes not existing. Some humans deny dragons and phoenixes, too. Wrong, obviously. Phoenixes and dragons are harder to believe than heroes. But here I am. The bridge builder apologized for his grandson. Naruto stormed upstairs, but nothing came of it. The child's cries echoed. Next day, we trained outside. Kakashi human asked if anyone understood chakra. Before Naruto could answer, I pecked him to remind him. How he forgot, I didn't know. Ninjas needed chakra. I couldn't think of a ninja who didn't, though exceptions might exist. Sasuke and Naruto assumed using jutsu meant they were fine. Naruto had already practiced chakra control. I stopped paying attention, eyeing a squirrel under a bush. Until Kakashi yelled, "Tree climbing," startling it away. My lunch, tree climbing, chakra control exercise. Naruto already knew it. What? But Kakashi-sensei, I know this. You do. This isn't ordinary tree climbing, you climb with no hands. He demonstrated, Sasuke and Sakura impressed. Yeah. Akarui helped me with that, Naruto exclaimed. Really? Show me. Kakashi requested proof. Naruto complied. You said Akarui-san helped you. His lazy gaze met mine. I bought a scroll that had the exercise. Anyway, since Naruto knows this, can we focus on his speed? Strictly speaking, it's not great. Polite phrasing. Well, if Naruto already knows, it's fine. I led Naruto deeper into the woods, interrupted by, look. A frog. Naruto jumped and mimicked it perfectly, puffed cheeks and all. I sighed, immature but still a child. Naruto, can we go? He finally followed after a drawn-out awa. We reached a clearing. Naruto, to improve speed, will combine the exercise with dodging. What do we do? He seemed excited or worried. Simple, dodge the flames. I began tossing small flames at him. He sprinted like his life depended on it, which it did. I could put them out midair if needed, but he didn't know that. Practice continued. Returning home, Naruto was exhausted. So was Sasuke. They'd tried hard. Dinner started. I even got a tiny bowl to eat from. Thoughtful. I'd need one back in Konoha. For some reason, Sasuke and Naruto began a food-eating contest. After several bowls, they promptly threw it up. Allegedly, eating like that made them stronger. Not necessary, and this village didn't need extra mess. Sakura noticed a torn picture on the wall. The bridge builder explained, it was a hero the father Inari mourned. Lost to Gato along with hope and courage. Heartbreaking. Naruto's determination to prove heroes exist strengthened. After 5 days, Naruto collapsed asleep from training. I was pleased with his progress. Being outside was far better than being indoors. Sparrows hovered about, undeterred by bigger creatures. Slightly annoying but cute. They liked Naruto's bright colors, same as me. Dozing in sparrow form, I saw a girl in pink approaching. I chirped into Naruto's ear. He awoke just before she arrived. Huh, who are you? She didn't say. Naruto immediately offered help picking herbs. They started together. I stayed nearby, chirping nonsense with the sparrows. The two of them carried on their own conversation, speaking about dreams and the people they cherished most. Apparently, when a person had someone or something to protect, they grew stronger. Was that true? I wasn't entirely sure. One could also become stronger when fighting for one's own survival, not only for friends, right? Then came a revelation that caught me off guard. The person I had been talking to was a boy. Clearly, I still had a lot to learn about distinguishing males from females. A day later, Kakashi had returned to his usual self. Likely, so had Zabuza. A battle was imminent, and I hoped everyone was prepared. During dinner that evening, Inari and Naruto clashed once again. Inari doubted we stood a chance against Gato. That remark sparked Naruto's anger. Or perhaps it was something Inari said afterward that set him off. I let Naruto handle it. He needed to learn to fight his own battles. I would not intervene. Later, I overheard Kakashi speaking to Inari about Naruto. Maybe he cared more than I had suspected. I made a mental note to keep that in mind. The next morning, Naruto refused to wake. Not even when I shouted, "Ramen," directly into his ear. Everyone else gave me curious looks. What? It used to work every time, I protested. Their expressions shifted to understanding. He's pushed himself too far. I doubt he'll move today, Kakashi remarked. Then I'll stay here, I decided. Naruto was far too interesting to leave alone. Tsunami and Inari also stayed to keep an eye on him, while the others departed with the bridge builder. Despite Kakashi warning, I had no doubt Naruto would be up soon enough. In the meantime, I remained in the forest. The house was definitely not to my liking. After a while, I noticed the sparrows growing increasingly restless. Listening more closely, I realized they were warning each other about danger approaching. Danger in the forest? That meant it was heading toward the bridge builder's house. Then I heard Naruto's voice, "I'm off." He was moving into the forest. I started to catch up, intending to warn him, but noticed he had already turned back. He was aware of the threat. With that, I also returned to the house. I arrived later than Naruto, and he had already dealt with the two intruding humans. I stayed hidden, observing. The two were samurai and clearly hostile, but now they were securely tied up. As for Inari, perhaps he gained a bit of courage and hope. Naruto had a unique way of influencing humans, maybe non-humans too. When Naruto dashed into the forest, I joined him. "Akarui, where have you been? I thought you left with the others." "No, I stayed here until you woke up. You took your time, I see." And indeed he had. The rest of the team had probably already reached the bridge. He let out a laugh or something close to it. Sorry. But soon I'll be there in time to save everyone. Trust me. Right if you say so, I replied. Arguing with him was pointless. Sometimes he refused to see reason. Hey, Akarui, can you give me a ride now? You promised. He looked at me with hopeful eyes. Fine, I did promise. Troublesome human. I expanded myself to carry him. It wasn't far to the bridge anyway. When we arrived, the bridge was shrouded in mist, a bad omen. Enemy ninja were likely nearby. From what I could tell, Sasuke human was engaged with the fake hunter nin, while Kakashi human faced Zabuza human. Naruto, I'll scout the field before landing. You can see the situation before helping your team, I told him. Flying across the field, it was clear Naruto should assist Sasuke human rather than face Zabuza human. He seemed to understand. On my second pass, he jumped to aid Sasuke human, who appeared trapped in a barrier of ice. At least that's how it looked. Of course, he did so loudly, proclaiming himself a hero. Zabuza human immediately launched shuriken at him, blocked by the hunter nin. The hunter, named Haku, mentioned wanting to deal with the kids. I remained in the air, circling. Perhaps Naruto would resist entering the dome. But of course he didn't. Sasuke human shouted at him, and rightly so. I wanted to do the same. You idiot, think first, why enter the mirrors? I sighed. Don't worry, Akarui is outside, Naruto shouted. That explained it at least, but had I not been there, would he have still gone in? I preferred not to know. Haku human entered the mirror. Akarui, you were supposed to stop this, Naruto yelled. I had been distracted. It was my fault. Trying to deflect blame, I reminded him it was his battle. Pride mattered. Through cracks in the ice, Sasuke human attempted a fireball jutsu, but it failed. Fire wasn't an option. Ramming them would have been disastrous. So I watched. Naruto tried Cage Bunshin to break the mirrors, impressively shattering them all. Perhaps my help was needed after all. Kakashi had explained that Haku had a Kekkei Genkai, a hereditary special jutsu. Humans were becoming increasingly fascinating. Haku spoke of dreams, protecting the most important human to him, killing if necessary. I certainly didn't want Naruto killed. Kakashi was right, these humans were formidable. Naruto, watch the flames. Should I test if my phoenix fire could melt the ice? I circled the dome, spitting flames. At my size carrying Naruto, the ice melted immediately. Haku was shocked. I returned to the sky. The rest of the fight, that was the Genin's job. Both Genins seized the opportunity. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Fire Style, Grand Fireball Jutsu. Haku dodged and threw Senbin at the clones. The originals remained unharmed. He and Sasuke engaged in Taijutsu, and while Haku was skilled, Sasuke and Naruto's speed allowed them to land strikes. Haku recreated the ice mirrors and continued his attacks. Senbin flew faster than I could intervene. Suddenly, Sasuke took a Senbin meant for Naruto. Had he died? Panic rose within me. I sensed the Kyubai's presence. Had the seal failed? Then I saw Naruto through a mirror, his expression wrong. Whisker marks darker, a killing intent that wasn't his own. He stopped before striking Haku. It was the boy from the forest. When Haku questioned him, he struck anyway. The Kyubai's presence was gone. They spoke afterward. Haku's ability isolated him. His parents had died by each other's hands until Zabuza took him in. He fought for Zabuza human. Haku asked Naruto to kill him. Naruto hesitated, could he? Ninjas were tools, yet his defiance made him something more. Haku died seconds later, protecting the one he cherished most. Kakashi human reappeared, bringing Haku's body. Naruto shook with rage. His sacrifice went seemingly unappreciated. Kakashi closed Haku's eyes and resumed the fight. Zabuza human lost both arms, and then Gato human arrived, declaring, Zabuza, I'm having you killed. I never planned to pay. A despicable human. Zabuza human relinquished the fight, seeing no point. Gato kicked Haku's body. Naruto's anger flared, but Kakashi held him back. You loved him. If I become as strong as you, will I be like you? Naruto cried. Zabuza, moved, also wept. He was too kind. Facing you proved we're still human. I've lost. Let me borrow your kunai. Naruto complied. Zabuza, biting through bandages, used it to cut down Gato human and his men. The proud ninja's story was nearing its end.